This epic manhwa starts with a dark, stormy night in an ancient Chinese home. Several men in black robes are lined up. Someone asked if there's anyone there. Puddle of water had formed from the continuous rain. There was a dirty child standing under the rain. He stood before the men in black robes. The way they just stand there is unnerving. A man with red eyes watched the boy intently while thinking how there's someone living in the shutdown martial academy. He called the boy a young warrior and asked permission if they could spend the night there to avoid the rain. The boy observed them. He's wondering who those people are. It's surprising to him that they are greeting him politely even though he's just a kid. He thought that maybe those people saw him as a young Taoist guarding the shutdown academy. He greeted them back as he thought that maybe they aren't bad people. He replied that he just also settled in the closed academy just a few years ago, so the men can also stay wherever they want. However, he pointed out the pavilion that he's using and told them to use other places aside from that. The men thanked the young warrior for his hospitality. The leader of the men instructed everyone not to go near the young warrior's pavilion and take shelter in other places. He asked if they understood, and everyone replied yes. They went to find their space. The boy read the word on their robe. It says, Tang. He wondered if they are all from the same clan. He's curious about what kind of people they are, but he has more important things to do now. He entered his pavilion. He's busy because it's dinner time for the kids. The serious mood was then changed as we saw the boy was delighted. This right here is our main protagonist, which I bet you'll love. Back to the recap. He excitedly called everyone to eat. There was a large pot container. He happily opened the lid, and there was a small brown cricket-like insect inside. The boy uttered that he was almost late, so those insects must be starving. He opened another pot. It contains this cute large spider called black earth tiger, the tarantula native to Hainan, China. It's a large species that grows up to 20 centimeters, and its unique stripes are reminiscent of a black tiger. Using a chopstick, he grabbed an insect to feed to Black. While feeding him, he uttered how he couldn't imagine surviving if those guys hadn't been there. Black chomped on the insect. The boy was pleased with its reaction. He's fascinated that this guy, who was about the size of a fingernail, has already shed his shell twice and grown like that. He is so happy. Black has gotten his fill. The next one is... The boy opened a drawer. It revealed an orange lizard with white stripes. It is a bewangling cave gecko. Likewise, this native species is characterized by stripes on the body and tail. The boy uttered that it was so hard to get it because he had no money in his previous life. But if he goes outside now, he can find them everywhere. His life was filled with fun watching them. He fed the gecko and got bitten. As he yelled loudly, he swung his fingers to shake it off, but it remained biting. This moment also reminded our MC about what happened to him before all of these things. So, before this person came into that body, he was a streamer. A streamer with a whooping 1 million subscribers. He is a professional biologist called Spicy Fabry. His main content was venomous insects and venomous animals. The problem was the live broadcast he held to celebrate reaching 1 million subscribers. The 10 most dangerous vipers in the world? Among them, the most dangerous one? The black mamba was considered to be the most aggressive, and the trip to Africa to find it was the death of him. He told his viewers that he doesn't have it and it's not easy to find. He decided to take a break and go look for it again. The viewers told him that they will wait for him. He was so tired that he couldn't find it. On the chat, the people are worried that it's in his house and he could get bitten. The black mamba that he couldn't find, no matter how hard he looked for it, was curled up on top of the refrigerator. He was bitten in an instant while on live TV. And immediately, our boy died. And now, back to the present time. He pouted, thinking that it happened after he put effort into looking for it. Meanwhile, the elderly man in black robe stood outside the pavilion door. He knocked and called for the young warrior. Our MC opened the door and asked if there's something wrong. The man replied that he would like to thank him for giving them shelter in the rain. He invited him to have dinner together, since they caught a deer. Hearing that made the boy excited. He liked meat. All this time, the only meat he could eat was snakes and lizards. He happily accepted the invitation and went where others were. They set up a bonfire. They were gathered around it as they watched the deer be cooked. The elder man saw how the boy was drooling at the sight of it. He told the boy that the deer will take time to cook. In the meantime, he asked if it's okay to ask a few questions. The boy felt embarrassed being caught staring at the deer for too long. He allowed the elder to ask questions. He inquired if the boy is living alone and his age. The boy wasn't sure if he's 14 or 15. The boy decided to make up a story like he accidentally hit his head when he was a child. That's why he doesn't remember much. The elder asked him if he's staying there by himself. He replied yes, since he doesn't have any talent. He just catches snakes and sells their skins to make a living. The elder couldn't believe that he's doing such a dangerous thing. He replied that he's used to it. Someone brought them the cooked part so they could eat first. An old man uttered that the young warrior must have been hungry. He thanked the elder. The boy uttered that it has been a long time since he had meat. He chomped on the meat and looked really happy. In his mind, he thought, "This is happiness." The older men happily watched him. They told the boy to listen while he eats. The elder revealed that they were looking for something and asked the boy if he had seen anything strange. The elder debated if he could say it. The white-haired elder told the patriarch that since they owe the young warrior, it might be all right to tell him. And since the boy might not know it, there's no chance he would get into trouble, and since he lives alone, he won't tell anyone. The patriarch agreed with his father. He started saying it. They have come to find a centipede with a blue spot on its body. The boy was surprised to hear that. They call it the blue spot centipede. It's big, so they thought the boy might have seen it. The boy asked how big it was. The patriarch replied that if it's an adult, it can easily swallow someone as big as the young warrior. The boy turned pale upon hearing about a centipede so big that it can swallow a person. The boy thought that his thinking that he just went back a few hundred years might be wrong since he could be in a different world. The white-haired man told him not to worry since they are about to catch that thing. The boy asked if they're trying to catch it and raise it. The elders were confused about the raising part. The white-haired elder was amused. Eventually, he belted out a loud laugh. They found the idea of raising a blue spot centipede amusing. The patriarch commented that the young warrior was so funny. The white-haired elder replied that there's no way they could raise it. They planned to use it as medicine. The boy was confused. Because he thought that they were traders, but now he's thinking that they might be drug dealers. He asked how centipedes could be used as medicine. The white-haired man replied that his granddaughter is lying in bed with a serious illness. The inner core of that centipede is the only thing that can save his granddaughter, so they're trying to find it. The boy was trying to put the pieces together, and the patriarch confirmed his suspicion. The granddaughter of the white-haired elder is his daughter. To the boy, it looked like they were trying to feed the girl anything since she's on the verge of death. He doesn't think that centipedes could be used as medicine, but there's nothing parents can't do for their children. Although he felt bad for the centipede, since those men treated him to meat, he decided to help them. He started talking about the centipede, and the patriarch immediately asked if he had seen it. He replied no. But he added that, although he doesn't know what a blue spot centipede is, he might have an idea where they can find it. Although him, Spicy Fabry, died from a snakebite, he's more confident than anyone else in terms of venomous animals. Among the approximately 8.7 million species, about 20,000 species are known to be venomous, and he has each and every one of them in his head. And of course, these centipedes aren't an exception. When it comes to venomous animals, everything is in the palm of Spicy Faber's hand. He actually is a walking encyclopedia of centipedes. Our MC recalled all of his knowledge about centipedes, and it was as if he was literally opening a book. He then scanned the pages, and after a few seconds, he eventually closed it. He found what he's looking for. Again, that was just all representation in his head. Back to the present time, he told the elders that he might know where to find it. These guys were startled and asked where. Our MC thought about it. He asked about the areas that the elders have already searched. They searched to the north and east from the academy, mainly during the day. And they focused on the riverside in the north. The boy wasn't surprised why they couldn't find it. He told them, "Of course you couldn't find it." The elder asked what he meant, of course. They asked him to tell them. Centipedes belong to the Arthropoda phylum and the Chilopoda class. So they have a wide range of territory, and being cold-blooded, they need shelter for regulation of temperature and humidity. Another interesting fact is that unlike most insects with a waterproof layer, centipedes have weak waterproofing and pores on their shells, so they don't actually prefer wet places. It's an animal that needs high humidity but dislikes wet places, yet it can't survive long without water. So, the blue spot centipede is less likely to be found in jungles or by the river. The elders couldn't believe it. He thought centipedes preferred places like rotten wood cracks. The boy informed them that they could see small ones in there, but they were looking for a big one. For big ones, they can't stay in the jungle or rocks by the river because that way they can't hide. The elders looked at each other and nodded their heads as a nonverbal communication. They asked where they could find the centipede. He told the boy that if they find it, he will give him a big reward. The boy smiled. He pointed to the west. He suggested searching for it on the Rocky Mountains in the west. Centipedes like to rest under warm rocks during the day and roam at night. Few hours later, at the Rocky Mountains. The men searched thoroughly. The patriarch stood above a tall, narrow rock. He watched intently. One man approached him and suggested that the young warrior could be wrong. He told everyone to call it a day. He ordered the signal arrow and gathered the search team. The arrow was fired. The men gathered around the bonfire. They were all exhausted, but they still hoped that the young warrior was right. They wondered why they couldn't find the centipede, but they somehow believed the young warrior since he looked intelligent. The patriarch was quiet. Then eventually, with a pained expression on his face, he uttered that his daughter, Huiyun, is considered the most exceptional talent in the history of Tang family. He asked if the heavens had abandoned her. All of a sudden, someone announced that the Grand Patriarch had returned. The Patriarch welcomed him back. They gathered around the bonfire. The Grand Patriarch asked the Patriarch if he failed to find it as well. The Patriarch replied yes. The Patriarch asked if the Grand Patriarch failed too. He replied yes. Huiyun could probably hold for 3 months at most. He doubted if they could find the centipede in 10 days. They were silent. The Patriarch suggested they explore the south tomorrow since they haven't found any traces there. The Grand Patriarch agreed that they didn't find any traces. From that statement, the Patriarch realized something. He laughed out loud and expressed how he couldn't believe that he missed that. He stated that they are in the right place after all. The Patriarch asked if he saw something. The Grand Patriarch replied no, and just as the Patriarch said, he didn't sense any trace or presence. The Patriarch was confused. The Grand Patriarch explained that since there's no trace, he had a sense that it was there. He asked the Patriarch if he had seen any traces in the past 3 days, and he replied no. Not even an animal or droppings or territorial markings. That's when the Patriarch realized. The Grand Patriarch replied that it's exactly as it is. It doesn't make sense for there not to be a single trace of an animal on the huge mountain. And the Patriarch thought of the territorial animal. The Grand Patriarch suspected that they all fled or became food for the centipede. He pats the shoulder of the Patriarch and assured him that the blue spot centipede is definitely there. They became certain that they could save Huiyun. Patriarch had a sad yet hopeful expression of a father in his face. Then they felt the ground shake. They became alert. They panic as the cracks on the ground appear. The area around the bonfire had crumbled. Unexpectedly, it rose from the ground. They are all confused about what's going on. A limb came out from the ground. They watch as another one appears. They pointed at the creature that was coming out. They were terrified. Even the Grand Patriarch was nervous. Several more limbs arose. It's the freaking blue spot centipede. And man, it's definitely huge. Back at the academy, our boy complained how it was such a mess. He wondered how big the centipede is because there's so much noise. He commented how he told them to look for it, but they're turning the mountain upside down. He's amazed with a centipede big enough to swallow him whole. And since he's a poison Pokemon freak, he thought that he really wanted to see it. Back at the Rocky Mountain, eventually things have settled down. They have defeated the blue spot centipede, but not without being injured. They also got the core. It's a baby blue gem in a wooden box. The men were in tears now that they could finally save Huiyun. The Patriarch asked his father to go to Sichuan first and treat the injured warriors. The Grand Patriarch was confused. The Patriarch explained that grudges are carved on blood and favors are carved on stone, and that's how they live. In short, they still have things to do. The Grand Patriarch finally realized it. He admitted how he almost made a big mistake just by focusing on Huiyun. The Grand Patriarch agreed how it would be right to welcome the young warrior as a guest and give him what he wants. The Patriarch ordered the injured warrior to receive treatment in the village while he visits the young warrior. The thought that the young warrior is also curious about the news came to his mind. But here we are. We see our boy casually being caressed by these 3 little yellow Pokemon. The young warrior is having a dilemma. He had just become the father of the blue spot centipedes. There's 3 of them, and they look like caterpillars. They're very cute and adorable, especially the way they rub themselves on the young warrior's face. Something reminded him while the boy was looking at the pot. When he got home, he cleaned the eggs and placed them on the nightstand. And when he woke up, they had all hatched. 1 centipede lay happily on the boy's head. The boy had sensed it, but he didn't really expect it to hatch quickly. He looked at them while pouting and tried to remove it on his shoulders. But there's a problem. They cling to him and won't get off because they think of him as their parent. A little recap of what happened last night. The boy was so curious about a new type of centipede so huge that it could swallow him. He told himself that if he endures this, he's not spicy Faber in the hideout of the blue spot centipede that he found. He searched for it, and he rashly kicked an insect. He was pissed off since he couldn't contain his curiosity. His torch fell, since he lost his balance, but he was relieved. The 3 eggs that he got were all safe. It's a good thing that the rain had stopped, or he could have failed to get even a single one. Then he realized something. It wasn't the time to be that way. He immediately stood up to go back quickly and clean the eggs. He secured the eggs on his waist and told those eggs to just wait a bit longer and he'll be sure to give them a bath soon. Back to the present time, although he couldn't see the living blue spot centipede, he's glad he saved the remaining eggs. He asked those guys to give him some space. He knew that there's no need to provide them food since they will not eat until they have molted twice. But it's a pain since they keep clinging onto his body. Then he thought of something. If he goes into the water, those guys will leave him alone. He had a smirk on his face as he decided to take a shower. The little guy probably doesn't know what it means, but it shivered. Few hours later, the elder patriarch arrived at the academy. He walked towards the pavilion. He knocked on the door and asked if the young warrior was inside. But there was no response. He waited. He reached for the knob. Then he decided to enter. He looked around and saw herbs in jars, even medicine. It made him wonder if the young warrior is a medical practitioner. He thought how rude it is to enter the room without permission. He decided to come back later, but he heard rustling sounds. It caught his attention. It was coming from one of the pots. He turned back and opened the pot. He was surprised to see what's inside. It was a spider. Then his attention shifted to the drawers. He pulled one to open and saw a gecko. He looked around and checked another pot which contained beetles. There are also some eggs and dried snakes. It was unbelievable. He couldn't fathom that the young warrior is raising venomous animals and their offsprings. Even their Tang clan, who is familiar with venomous creatures, only managed to extract the poison. They haven't been able to find a way to increase the eggs that way. He thought he saved his daughter's life through a small, lucky encounter. But the real luck was the encounter with the young warrior himself. The young warrior saw and called him. The young warrior was worried that the elder hurt his arm since it was bandaged. The elder replied that it's not a big deal. He told the young warrior that he had to tell him something, but he was cut off mid-sentence because he felt an ominous energy. The entrance behind the boy has some explosion. Slowly, a silhouette of a head came up. When the body was revealed, it looked like a silhouette of an ogre. It had one eye, and the left side of the face was burned. The elder immediately pushed the young warrior while telling him to run. The young warrior was surprised and confused. The monster made a loud noise while its stance looked like it was ready to attack. Then it took a step. Its movements are fast. It attacked with its hand. The elder blocked it with his uninjured arm. It was really painful. Then the monster pushed the elder back and sent him flying. The area was filled with dust that made the elder cough. He coughed up blood, too. He described the monster to be at par with his father. He told the young warrior to run, but when the smoke cleared, it revealed the young warrior being choked and lifted in the air by the monster. The young warrior coughed while the monster laughed loudly. The monster spoke, saying that he heard that the bastards from the Tang clan have come to Hainan. No one would have expected that the son of the myriad poisons divine sovereign would be injured and alone. The elder replied that he doesn't know who he is and asked why he is being targeted along with the young warrior. The monster asked him if he couldn't tell with his face and fist. He introduced himself as the blood hand Rakasa, Ta Kunyang, and it was the elder's father that made him look like that. The elder recognized the name. He heard that the man got hit in the head with a poison palm and fell off the cliff, but he's actually still alive. The elder told him that the young warrior had nothing to do with him, so he requested him to let go of the young warrior. And in return, the elder offered his life. But Unyang didn't want to. He vowed to slaughter anyone who even brushes past Tang Clan's clothes. In his head, the elder cursed that damned demon. In this context, the demon is a powerful martial artist who causes harm to the world, and it looked like Unyang had no intention of letting the young warrior go. Our MC had turned pale from the lack of air. Unyang laughed loudly and told him to die. The young warrior weakly asked to be spared. He begged. And, at this point, he was already a few seconds away from reaching his limit. All of a sudden, there's 3 pairs of fierce eyes. The 3 little centipedes dashed on Unyang's arm. It's showtime! These cute but fierce baby centipedes attacked and bit these ugly ass all over his body. Unyang was confused to see the centipedes. He dropped the young warrior. He's furious as he yelled that even if those are centipedes, they can't harm him. All of a sudden, his neck turned violet and he coughed blood. He immediately fell on the ground. He was groaning from pain. Our boy was surprised and confused that he died. He moved away while confirming to the elder if it's a bad person. The elder, who saw everything, was bewildered. His jaw dropped, and it turned into a huge grin as he realized that the young warrior isn't just a mere guest. The elder thought that the young warrior must definitely become a member of the Tang clan. A few days after Unyang collapsed, someone sighed. The young warrior is taking care of the elder. He placed a wet cloth on the elder's forehead as the man slept. The elder thanked him. The young warrior replied that instead of thanking him, he could tell him where his companions are, and he'll go check on them. But then he realized he can't leave him alone. But they can't also call a doctor either. The elder told him not to worry, and that he'll recover with a few days of rest. The boy was dumbfounded how calm the man is after coughing up so much blood. He told the elder to stop saying that when he's in critical condition. The elder replied that he's fine, because he's a martial artist. The young warrior was totally clueless. He asked if that's the kind that flies around and shoots fireballs and stuff. The elder had a small laugh and told him that not everyone can do it, but it's one way to put it. Spicy Faber was amazed. It's another thing that made him acknowledge that he's really in a different world after all. Otherwise, a centipede as big as a house doesn't make sense. The elder told him that he owes his life to the young warrior. He saved his life. And he introduced himself formally despite being in that condition. He is Tang Cheol-san of the Sichuan Tang clan. And finally, our MC introduced himself as well. His name is Wei Soryong. Cheol-san knew that so means small and Ryong means dragon. It's a good name. Then Cheol-san expressed how he's so many questions that he'd like to ask. Soryong told him to go ahead. He asked if those are venomous centipedes on his body. Soryong rubbed one centipede on its belly and replied, yes, since they are blue spot centipedes. The shock made Cheol-san rise up from the bed. He asked if Soryong tamed them, and how did he do it? Cheol-san continued saying that while waiting for him, he saw other venomous creatures too. He asked if he's raising those as well. Soryong replied that it's going to be a long story. He asked if he's okay with it. Cheol-san replied that he doesn't mind. Soryong started with the egg of the blue spot centipede. When he concluded his story, Cheol-san confirmed with him if he raised it from an egg. Soryong replied yes, since he could roughly predict when it would hatch. In Cheol-san's head, it was something he couldn't fathom. Just how did the boy do it? Soryong asked him to wait for a bit. Our MC then headed towards one of the drawers. He took out 2 lizards and proudly told the elder to take a look at it. First is the lizard with brown body and yellow stripes on its body and white stripes on its tail. It's an ordinary striped lizard. Then there's the other one. He made 2 lizards with larger white stripes on their tail breed, so the other one only has 2 colors. It has a brown body and white tail, no stripes. Cheol-san asked if what he's saying is that he bred that color. Soryong blushed and happily replied, yes. He thought it was pretty. Cheol-san composed himself and asked if the young warrior can pair the ones with strong poison to create an even venomous one. Soryong replied, huh? In his head, he thought that theoretically it's possible. Then he replied to the elder, explaining that if they knew which one had stronger poison, it would probably be possible. He wasn't done when Cheol-san exclaimed, really? That's possible! That intense reaction shocked Soryong. Immediately, Cheol-sun told him to become part of his family right there and then. Soryong is now confused. Cheol-sun tempted him by saying that if he joins, they will generously teach him all their martial arts, and he'll have access to all sorts of elixirs, herbs, and any poisons he wants. Cheol-sun told him that someone like him could even capture or raise the legendary 10 great venomous creatures of central plains of the martial world, and if that isn't enough to sway Soryong's heart. This old man even added not to brag, but to share one of the 3 flowers of central plains, his daughter. Soryong screamed, "Hold on!" Soryong asked what he just said. Cheol-sun was amused. He commented that even if Soryong is young, he's still a man. He continued talking about the flowers of the central plains, but Soryong cut him off and told him to forget about the flowers. Soryong brought up the topic about the 10 great venomous creatures of central plains. He asked if they're amazing, like the blue spot centipede. Cheol-san replied, "Of course." He told him that blue spot centipede is impressive, but it's lower ranked compared to the 10 great venomous creatures of central plains. From the giant scorpion to the golden frog that shines like gold, whatever Soryong is imagining, it is beyond that. Cheol-sun smiled. It looked like he succeeded in persuading Soryong. Soryong looked excited and had sparkly eyes. 2 days later, one Tang clan member was surprised to find out that blood hand Rakasa, Tak Unyang, showed up. Cheol-san replied that it looked like Unyang had been hiding and polishing his martial arts. He was at a level close to his father. Then the men of the Tang clan realized something. If the patriarch sent the man to his death, it could be that he reached the realm of 10,000 poisons. They congratulated him. The patriarch replied that he hasn't. He informed them that the young warrior is the one who killed Unyang. The Tang clan members' jaws dropped. One man immediately clasped the young warrior's hand. They thanked them for saving the patriarch of the Sichuan Tang clan. They asked if he's an elder who has undergone rejuvenation. Soryong was confused. The elder noticed that there's a misunderstanding, so he requested Soryong to show them. The Tang clan members knew what it meant, but Soryong tapped his chest and asked the guys to come out. The Tang clan members watched Soryong's clothes rustle, and 3 adorable centipedes peeked out. Everyone gasped at the sight of it. The little guys crawled out. The Tang clan member knew it was a centipede. The patriarch explained that it's blue spot centipedes and those little centipedes got rid of Unyang. They asked about the poison. It was unbelievable that he was able to tame one. The patriarch explained that it's the reason why he decided to accept the young warrior as one of their own. But Soryong said he'd think about it a bit more. A clan member told Soryong that it's a great opportunity. The patriarch uttered that he should get up now because he has a feeling that he shouldn't be late. Soryong asked if he's still looking for something. Cheol-sun was quiet for a moment. Then he started explaining that blood hand Rakasa, Tak Uyang, had practiced the martial arts named the blood hand poison claw. It's a devil art for which one needs human blood and bone marrow to reach a certain stage. Soryong finds that really creepy. Cheol-sun explained that if Unyang left behind any secret scrolls or disciples, they have to deal with it to eliminate any future threats to make sure such cruel martial arts never return to the martial world. Also, if there's anyone captured, they gotta help them too. The patriarch asked if the young warrior would help them with it. After all, he's familiar with the geography of Hainan Island. Soryong looked sullen. He thought about it, and joining the Tang clan would mean a lifelong position. If you think about it, it's a rule of the thumb to check out the company atmosphere and the boss's character during an internship. Soryong agreed to help as soon as the patriarch felt better. They affirmed him for making the right choice. Soryong replied that it means saving lives, so of course he would help. Inside his head, his plan is to thoroughly use the chance to find out what kind of place the Sichuan Tang clan is. After all, skilled people always reverse interview their companies. It took Cheol-sun 3 days to recover. They stopped by a village near the abandoned martial academy to find the base of the blood hand Rakshasa Tak Unyang. They asked if there were any missing people. An old man shared that there are about 1 or 2 people who go missing in the jungle every year, but there haven't been any periodic disappearances. Cheol-san was in deep thought. They thanked the village chief for telling them. The village replied that it's nothing. I am honored to be able to help the famous patriarch of the Sichuan Tang clan. They excused themselves. Unfortunately, they didn't find any important leads. They passed through the forest. Soryong asked Cheol-san that there's nothing special about the village. Cheol-san explained that when Unyang found them and revealed himself, it was around that area. but it wasn't easy to find. Soryong finds it strange too for having no traces. He recalled what that bastard said. It made him realize something. He asked the elder if he remembered what the bastard said when he showed up. Cheol-san replied not really. Soryong remembered that Cheol-san was sent away by Uyang's palm that time. He told him that the bastard said that he heard that the bastards from the Tang clan have come to Hainan. In other words, Unyang talked about someone informing him. So it's simple. They only had to check the places the Tang clan passed through in Hainan. Soryong suggested they go around with Unyang's portrait and they'll be able to find out. They looked at Soryong bewilderingly. They found him incredible. If Unyang said something like that, he must have heard it from someone who saw the Tang clan. Things had become easier for them. They departed right away. They arrived at a village. It looked gloomy. One Tang clan member reported that according to what he heard at the port in Hainan, that village seems to be the one. The elder replied that it's the place where those Halai people live. They decided to go to the village, expecting those people wouldn't be hostile to them. The villagers looked lifeless. The Tang clan asked if anyone's available. That caught the attention of the villager. They saw the Tang clan. They asked what the Han people were doing there. An old man, who could be the village chief, approached them. He's holding the hand of a little girl, and behind them are two guards. They all looked sick. Cheol-san introduced himself. Soryong watched them chat. He also noticed how the child looks weak, and the village is lifeless. Then he thought of something. Other villagers were droopy. They seemed to have taken some kind of medicine. The village chief replied that no one's missing, and nothing special is going on in their village. He told them to leave. The elder argued that compared to the number of houses, the number of people, he was cut off mid-sentence when the village chief told them that it's nothing they should take interest in. Once again, they are asked to go back. Cheol-san and Soryong were dumbfounded. Cheol-san whispered to Soryong, recalling what he said earlier, that the Halai people should be friendly to them. Soryong had nothing to respond to. He noticed the little girl once again. She collapsed. Everyone was surprised. The village chief placed her in his lap, white tears pooled in his eyes. He told Mi-jin not to leave her since she's the only relative he has left. He couldn't bear to see her sick too. Cheol-san approached the village chief and informed him that he learned a bit about medical arts. He sought permission to help them. The village chief asked if it was Central Plains Medical Arts. He replied yes. Even though he's not a physician, he has some knowledge in medicine. He asked if he could take a look at the child. The village chief requested him to do so. Then the village chief was about to say something. He informed them that a plague has been spreading around the village for some time now, and children are dying and healthy people are suffering. Cheol-san said he would give it a try. The village chief thanked him. They brought her inside. The village chief scolded the guards for just standing there and ordered them to guide the physician and his party inside. They rushed towards the house. Soryong asked a Tang clan member if the elder knows medical arts too. The man replied yes. He shared that Tang clan's martial arts involve dealing with poison, so they are proficient in medicine. Also, since martial arts begin with knowing one's body, one must know some medical arts as well. Soryong thought that they were an assassin group that used poison. If he enters the Tang clan, it would be great if he can learn medical arts instead of terrifying poison arts. Then the man added that sometimes they catch wicked bastards and inject them with poison and see how they react too. Soryong's reaction was so funny upon hearing that since he translated that to doing human experiments. As he imagined it, the more terrified he got. The village streets were empty, and inside one of the houses, someone sighed. Cheol-san explained that he transferred some of his ki to her and stabilized her breathing. The village chief thanked him. The village chief begged them to save his one and only granddaughter. Cheol-san brought up a topic. It was because there's something odd with the child's pulse. He asked if she has had a weak heart since birth. The village chief shared that it has been half a year since she started feeling sick. Besides his granddaughter, other people started to get sick too. They call it a mysterious disease. That's why he told them to go back when they were at the entrance earlier. Cheol-san told the village chief that he will give them some good medicine for the heart. He asked the villagers to be gathered so they could try it. The village chief burst into tears while he thanked him. He genuinely thanked him. Soryong watched Cheol-san intently. Later that night, a Tang clan member walked alongside the patriarch and acknowledged how the patriarch had worked hard tending to the patients. The patriarch thanked Pai. Pai asked about the symptoms. Cheol-san replied that it's quite unusual. There's lethargy, swelling in the eyes, light fever, irregular pulses. The symptoms were all different, and those with severe symptoms all had problems with their hearts. Cheol-san asked where Soryong was. Pai replied that Soryong must be tired from helping, so he fell asleep. He left him in his room. Cheol-san agreed since Soryong had been following them without knowing any martial arts, so it's a given that he's tired. Cheol-san decided to see him. Pai offered to take him there. They entered the room. Soryong was sleeping deeply on the bed, while the 3 centipedes were in a basket. Cheol-san peeked through the door. Then he noticed something. Immediately he entered. He raised his hand against Soryong. His hand was heavy. When he slapped Soryong, Soryong immediately woke up with pain on his cheek. Cheol-san was glaring at him. Soryong wondered what's with him all of a sudden. Soryong moved away from him out of instinct. He cradled his painful cheek. He grits his teeth and started getting angry. He asked why he did that and complained that it hurts. The elder apologized and explained that there was a bug on his face, so he wanted to catch it. Soryong finds it unbelievable. Cheol-san asked to be heard out. He wanted to check on him before he went to sleep, so he stopped by. However, a bug landed on his sleeping face. There are a lot of venomous insects in the area, so he thought it would be dangerous to leave the bug there, and so Cheol-san's hand went up on its own. He showed it to Soryong while saying that it's a large bug. Soryong was surprised to see that. Then he realized something. He confirmed with Cheol-san that even if the patients are suffering from various diseases, they all have arrhythmia. Cheol-san replied that it's correct. Soryong realized the cause of the illness in town was... Then he pointed at the bug, saying it was him. Kissing bug. It's a species of the Reduvidae family. It got its name because it sucks blood from the eye or lip area. They are so sneaky that they blood suck more quietly than a mosquito. That's why they are also called vampire or assassin bugs. The bugs themselves aren't venomous, but their stomachs are full of harmful parasites. So once a person is bitten, they can easily get infected through their excrement. They cause trypanosomiasis, also known as the Chagas disease, and are ranked 7th in the list of dangerous animals that killed humans the most. Soryong asked the village chief if the dogs of the village run out of breath easily or show similar symptoms to those in humans. The village chief replied that they do and asked if it's because of the bug, too. Soryong replied yes. He asked if it meant that they could save his granddaughter. Soryong replied that it's possible if they have the right medicine. Cheol-san grinned. He asked Pai what he thinks. Pai replied that he can see the young warrior's true value. Soryong saw them and wondered what's wrong with them. They told him that they are the Sichuan Tang family. Soryong looked clueless. And once again, Cheol-san repeated the same statement. In his head, Soryong asks, "So what?" His annoyed and confused expression was funny too. Cheol-san explained that there's something called gu. Some say they're venomous parasites, others simply call them witchcraft. They're bugs grown by evil men in China. He added that those men feed the bugs to people to cause them pain, or to make people do whatever they want them to do. Soryong replied that it sounds incredible. Cheol-san agreed, but countless martial artists have been killed by those gu. Or were forced to kill their very own children, or were forced to betray their families and became a slave of those evil men. That's why many didn't spare efforts to find an antidote against gu. He's pertaining to cures that either make the gu come out of the body or that melt and kill them off inside the body. Soryong started to realize it. Then Cheol-san asked that if there's someone who succeeded in making a cure, who could it be? Then he proudly says that, of course, it's the great Sichuan Tang family. So he told them that if they have something that can melt off the fist-sized round worm inside the body, the tiny bug won't be a problem for them. He showed the curse-melting orb. Even a little bit of that medicine should be enough. Soryong expressed his amusement, but deep inside, he thought about how fancy the name is for an anti-parasitic drug. They assured the village chief that they can save his granddaughter. In the end, the villagers began to recover one by one, starting with the chief's granddaughter. The chief was so relieved. The villagers' warm hospitality was a nice extra reward. Seeing their bright and cheerful expressions, it seemed as if rumors regarding their optimistic personalities weren't wrong. Cheol-san expressed that it would have been difficult had it not been for Soryong identifying the reason. In that sense, he told everyone that he's not deserving of the gratitude, but Soryong is. They thanked the young warrior and called him their savior. Even though the Tang family's medicine cured the villagers, Cheol-san gave all the credit to him. Seeing Soryong get all the thank you made Cheol-san satisfied and happy, as if he's the one getting them. Soryong was touched by that sight. They all rejoiced, and they threw Soryong in the air repeatedly. A bit later, the village chief whispered to Cheolsun's ear about what they talked about at the entrance of the village. Cheolsun asked what it was. The village chief pertained to the villages who had missing people. Cheolsun remembered that and asked what about it. The old man expressed that he wanted to repay the favor as much as possible, so he looked into it, and a strange story came to his ears. Among their village's women, there is one who comes from another village, and she told him that a few years ago. Her hometown suffered a tragedy where a few people disappeared from the village. They all thought that they had finally found it. Cheolsun asked where the village is. The village chief replied that it's a small village to the west. Lo and behold, they arrived in that village. It stinks of corpses. They are in the right place. Cheolsun saw something. The corpses, trash, and bugs are scattered in the area. There's poison in the air. Pai told Soryong not to look because it's too gruesome, but Soryong already saw everything. A man noticed something and asked what it was. There's a gold chicken foot. It ate the corpse of a snake. It's Ho-Oh. Nah, I'm kidding. It's a mysterious bird. It has a golden tail, and colors of purple, pink, and black dominate its body. It looked magical. One person couldn't let it dishonor the dead anymore, so he grabbed a rock, and then he threw it at the bird. Cheolsun tried to stop him, but it was too late. The bird didn't get hit, but they definitely caught its attention. The man was furious, but Cheolsun placed a hand on his shoulder and told him that something feels off. The bird spread its wings. It emits miasma in the air. Soryong was surprised. It melted the skeletons. Someone grabbed Soryong by the mouth. Cheolsun ordered everyone to run while he held Soryong's mouth and nose. That beast is a zhenyao. The name literally translates to poison-feathered bird. After that encounter, the group was safe. They gathered around Cheolsun. Cheolsun informed everyone that when it spreads its wings, it's 5 feet wide. Its beak is sharp and bronze-colored, and the body is covered in purple feathers. When it unleashes its fury and spreads its wings, everything around it turns black and dies, becoming poison. On its head, it has a golden crown, truly a regal presence. This is called a gen, or a zhenyao. Soryong had thoughts. His eyes were full of enthusiasm when he asked if it's one of the 10 great venomous creatures. Cheolsun replied yes. He explained that this occupies the very top of the great venomous creatures, and is called the zhenyao, known as the king of all the venom. Soryong was so excited. In his mind, even venomous insects and snakes on Earth seem adorable in comparison to it. Soryong thought of how biochemical weapons are just roaming in his current world. Cheolsun said that it seems to have been drawn in there by snakes carrying venom. It said that the zhenyao only eats the heads of venomous snakes. Soryong asked if it was common. Cheolsun replied no, and it's quite rare. So rare that one might only catch a glimpse of it in 100 years. Soryong was so amazed. It made Cheolsun inquire as to why he asked. He asked if it's possible to catch it. That flabbergasted the Tang members. Cheolsun was amused and asked Soryong if he wanted to try catching it. Soryong replied yes, but he's worried about the venom. Cheolsun smiled. He understood that Soryong had a great interest in 10 great venomous creatures. If that's the case, he told him, there's a way. Soryong was surprised. Cheolsun informed him that if he masters the Tang clan's poison techniques, he will become immune to all poisons and be able to withstand Zhenyao's venom. Only with their clan's martial arts he can block poisons in the entire world. Cheolsun was sly when he dropped the statement that they don't teach their clan's techniques to outsiders. Even if he wants to help him, as the patriarch, he can't break the rules. Soryong eagerly asked if he could learn it if he became a part of the family. He also asked that if he becomes immune to poison, would he really withstand the Zhenyao's venom? Cheolsun replied, of course. And that if Soryong agrees to it now, he will teach him without holding back and make sure to take care of his gift as well. He added that if Soryong takes too long hesitating, he would also hesitate. Soryong felt the pressure. Then he announced that he will do it and become a member of the clan. He told him that he's looking forward to his guidance. He called him patriarch now instead of elder. The cunning man had a mischievous grin on his face and replied as if he didn't bait Soryong into agreeing. Cheolsun told Soryong that from then on he is, forever, one of their family. Back at the rotten place, traces of the blood hand Rakshasa, Tak Unyang is seen at a cave. There were footsteps too. They called the patriarch and gave him a notebook that they found inside the cave. Cheolsun scanned it and confirmed that it's the secret technique of the blood hand poison claw. Soryong was creeped out that it was written in blood. Cheol-sun decided to head back. Soryong asked if they were going to Sichuan. Cheol-sun replied that it's the best now that they obtained the blue spot centipede's core and secured the manual. Soryong asked if it's all right to stop by at the academy since he would like to release his friends. Cheol-sun agreed since Soryong needs to gather his belongings too. They head out. But then when Soryong looked behind him, he noticed something. He pointed out that there's something over there. They checked it and saw a shining purple feather from the Jianyao. They all stared at it while thinking. Cheol-sun took it, and he told Soryong that he'll consider it as a commemorative gift for becoming part of their family. Soryong looked very interested in it. Soryong thanked him. Cheol-sun replied, everything is good except for the way he addressed him. He suggested changing the title after the ceremony. Soryong wondered if it's like an initiation ceremony. Meanwhile, at the Tang clan, the Grand Patriarch Tang Museong, who left first, has finally arrived. He's exhausted, but he didn't rest. Instead, he asked how Huayun was doing. He was assisted by the Tang members as they hurried inside. They told him that she's holding on to her life. The door opened. He immediately called Huayun. The people inside were surprised to see him. He told his daughter-in-law that he now has the medicine. He took out the core of the blue spot centipede. Seeing that he succeeded made the daughter-in-law cry. They prepared to give it to her. Museong became sad as he looked at her pained expression. That was a close call. He's glad that he hurried back. The daughter-in-law encouraged him to give the medicine at once. Museong made her granddaughter swallow it. A blue glow surrounded her. Museong placed a finger on her hand to check her pulse. They all wished for her to open her eyes. They watched her as they waited. Meanwhile, Soryong looked groggy. He heard that the Central Plains are vast, but he didn't expect it to be that much. From Hainan, take a boat to Hangzhou. Then passing through Nanjing, after a journey lasting over a month and a half. Finally, they have arrived in Sichuan. At the Sichuan Tang clan's residence, Pai happily announced to Soryong that it's the Sichuan Tang clan. Soryong has his mouth wide open. They stood at the entrance. They informed him that the entire mountain belongs to the Sichuan Tang clan. That's why the mountain is called Tang Clan Mountain. Soryong gulped as he took it all in. Immediately, the members of the Tang clan came out and welcomed the patriarch. Soryong was taken aback, because there were so many of them. He wondered if all those people are from the Sichuan Tang clan. But among these ugly asses, a girl with a red dress was also running towards them. This one was rushing. She called her father. It was Huayun. Tears ran through her face as she was just happy to see her father again. Meanwhile, our boy Soryong was bewitched. Cheol-sun was glad to see her daughter alive. She hugged her tightly while apologizing to him. Soryong couldn't fathom her beauty. He had a fling with a celebrity in his past life. But he had never seen someone with such a radiant aura before. Cheol-sun told Soryong that he has someone he wants to introduce to him. Cheol-sun introduced her daughter Huayun to him. Soryong was dumbfounded. He asked if it was what Cheol-sun said before. Soryong said that it's something about the weed, or the grass, that jogged Cheol-san's memory and uttered that it was about the flower. Huayun blushed. Cheol-san told Soryong that the girl beside him is the flower that Soryong brushed off. Soryong was speechless. He recalled their conversation about the flower and felt embarrassed. Right at this moment, our MC knew that he fucked up. He never imagined that he had let go the chance of having his beautiful waifu. The only daughter of the Sichuan Tang clan, also called the venomous flower Tang Huayun. She carried an emotional burden that no one knew about since she was young. She heard some old men talking about her. They can't be sure of her talent, but her beauty is outstanding enough to be called one of the 3 flowers of the Murim. They talked about her having a suitable son-in-law. The other old man mentioned that he told the patriarch to take a second wife, but the patriarch refused and he doesn't understand why. When Huayun heard that, she knew her parents weren't wrong. She wanted to show it to the clan elders by making great achievements in the family's martial arts. She wanted to show that she could do a lot for the family even if she wasn't a man. But haste makes waste. If one is impatient, they will lose their way. That impatience brought about a heart demon, and that heart demon led to key deviation. We then see Huayun woke up. This was the time when the Grand Patriarch, her mother, and 2 other people surrounded her bed. Her mother looked relieved now that she's safe. Tears fell from Huayun's eyes. She cried while she apologized to her mother. She wanted to be a useful person to the clan, but she has lost all her inner ki. Her grandfather replied and called her brat. He asked her if she's doing it because she feels sorry for making her father and grandfather suffer. He pointed out how she reached the level of 100 poisons that she desperately wanted. He told her to stop crying and cheered up. He lost her when he said something about 100 poisons. She looked at her aura. It was glowing. She asked her grandfather. The Grand Patriarch told her that he has something to tell her. It's a story about a mysterious young warrior who not only saved her life, but also gave her the inner chi of 1,000 poisons, not just 100 poisons. At the present time, Hwaeun asked about weed. Soryong had no response. Again, Soryong was embarrassed for referring to Cheolsan's daughter as weed because he was so immersed in the story about the 10 great venomous creatures. He told his past self to reflect on this. He tried to dismiss it by saying that the patriarch had taken the joke too far. He told her that it was nice to meet her. It was so funny how the clan members were all smiles upon witnessing the encounter of these two young adults. Soryong introduced himself. He told her that he knew she was sick, so he's happy to see that she's healthy now. Hwaeun told him it's nice to meet him. She introduced herself as Hwaeun, and that she's also called the Venomous Flower. She thanked him for saving her life and that she will never forget his favor for the rest of her life. Soryong was enamored as to how pretty she is. Cheolsan asked Soryong what he thinks. Soryong's jaw dropped when he heard a voice in his head. He assumed it's some kind of sound transmission. Cheolsan asked if he agrees with him that her daughter is such a beauty. He asked Soryong if he wants to get to know him more. A few moments later, Soryong rested in a large bath. The centipedes were peacefully sleeping in a basket. Soryong felt like he's going to die. He looked haggard. Then he noticed something. He smiled, seeing the centipedes. One centipede woke up and it smiled at him. Normally, they would never fall off. But when he told them that hot water is bad for them and suggested they stay in the bucket, they just went in as if they understood. He finds it mysterious. It's like they can understand him. Cheolsan said that they react to killing intent. 2 centipedes are now awake and watching him. He told them that he feels embarrassed that they keep staring at his naked body. Then the 2 centipedes hid inside the bucket. Soryong was amused. He remembered that Pai said that the centipedes were spiritual creatures. He took a mental note to ask what spiritual creatures are later. He thought about it. He can't calm down because of what Cheolsan said. He knew he had to leave quickly, at a different pavilion. The family is gathered around the table. There's the Grand Patriarch, the Patriarch, his wife and daughter. Cheolsan told everyone that he's going to give the East Wing room to the young warrior. This room is one of the bedrooms of a couple in a traditional Chinese residence. The Grand Patriarch asked if the young warrior is really that talented. The Patriarch replied yes, and that he thought they met by chance, but his help wasn't the lucky encounter, it's the person himself. He explained that not only is his knowledge of venomous creatures extraordinary, he even killed Ouyang. What's more, he has encountered legendary spiritual creatures like the poison-feathered bird. Besides, he even hatched the blue spot centipede eggs himself. The Grand Patriarch commented that the Patriarch had found such a treasure. Their attention shifted to Hwaeun. Cheolsan told her daughter that he wants to take the young warrior as his son-in-law. He asked what she thought about it. Hwaeun thought about what it meant. Then she realized. She fell silent. She wanted to show that she could be much more helpful to their clan now that she acquired the Constitution beyond 100 poisons, the 1,000 poisons Constitution. She replied that she's also a member of the Tang clan and she understands what her father is saying. But she told him that whether the young warrior deserves her is for her to find out. Then she ran out of the room. It was such an awkward scenario. In Cheolsan's head, the young warrior should be careful. As pretty as his rose is, she also has sharp thorns. Hwaeun ran fast. She felt hurt. Now she finally acquired the 1,000 poison Constitution. If she stops there, the elders will never acknowledge her. She planned to thoroughly check what kind of person the young warrior is from his qualifications to his personality. Meanwhile, Soryong is thinking of what he should do. He knew that she would probably hold a grudge against him. He asked his kids, aka Centipede, what he should do. Out of the blue, Hwaeun showed up and it shocked the hell out of him. She looked really gorgeous. Bros, this art style is really messing up with me. It reminds me of some manhwas that can't be named. Anyway, back to the recap. She told him to excuse her for a bit. She's in a hurry. She asked for his hand. He gave it to her like a dog giving a paw to his human. Then he blushed. He told her that he doesn't know why she's in a hurry, but he suggested doing those things after they have become closer. He's shy as he utters that there's an order to things like that. Hwaeun asked what he's talking about. Then realization dawned on her. Her whole face turned red like a tomato as she corrected him that it wasn't what she meant. Soryong felt cold and disappointed upon knowing that it wasn't what he thought. There was an awkward silence. Hwayun sighed. She clarified again that it's not what he's thinking. She just wanted to check his pulse. She guessed that it was because she suddenly asked for his hand that he misunderstood. Soryong felt ashamed. She sat beside him while apologizing for appearing out of nowhere and acting rudely. She told him that he's young and hasn't come of age yet, but he seems thoughtful, so she plans to explain to him what is going on. She started explaining while Soryong paid close attention. From what Soryong heard, he thought it was a medieval drama. As the only direct descendant, Hwayun constantly faced wicked schemes of the branch families. Therefore, to ensure the continuation of the family line, the elders planned to bring in a highly capable son-in-law. They even considered how Soryong's standing in the family might change if he were to join it. Hwayun apologizes in advance because there's something she needs to confirm. She told him that even if things don't turn out well, she has no intention of treating him poorly. She acknowledges that he is her benefactor, so of course she wants to treat him as a guest, or something like sworn siblings. Soryong extended his hand. He told her that he understands what she meant, so she's free to confirm whatever it is that she needs to. She observed him. She took his hand and placed her hand on his pulse. She started emitting a blue aura around her. She explained that the martial arts of the Tang clan aren't something just anyone can learn. Some people can accept toxins into their bodies and master Tang clan's techniques, while others simply cannot. That's why the Tang clan's poison techniques require one to gradually adapt to the poisons as their internal energy grows. Only by accepting them all can one achieve mastery. There's a tier on the poisons. It starts with 5 poisons, then 10 poisons, 100 poisons, 1,000 poisons, and finally 10,000 poisons. Fortunately, Soryong's body is capable of learning the poison techniques. However, it's only 10 poisons. This means his body can only handle 10 types of toxins. Having a 10-poison body is impressive, especially for someone not born into the Tang clan. Soryong was flabbergasted. Hwayun continued to express that, in terms of general skill, it would only place him at the level of a first-rate martial artist. The highest martial artist prowess someone with no innate talent could attain. She decided to take her leave. He saw her off. Soryong thought that he had a 10-poison body. He turned pale, realizing that it could mean that he couldn't catch the Jianyao. For Soryong, it's a serious matter. Few hours later, someone stepped out of the bath. It was Hwayun, and man, what a fan service. She noticed that ever since she took the inner core of the blue spot centipede, her body emits a weird scent, and it happens even though she bathes several times a day. She put on her clothes. She wondered if it's some kind of punishment for speaking ungratefully to the one who saved her life. Our boy Soryong was deep asleep. In his dreams, he's talking to someone who told him how she's grateful for his kindness. It was Hwayun. He asked if he's dreaming. Hwayun replied that it may feel like a dream, but it isn't. The Hwayun in there explained that she borrowed the appearance of the girl who consumed her inner core to avoid startling him. She introduced herself as the mother of all those creatures, the blue spot centipede. Soryong couldn't follow. 3 little girls approach him. He deduced that those 3 are her babies. He asked her how she appeared in her dreams. She explained that she was killed without mercy, leaving her children behind, and her grudge reached the heavens, and her spirit lingered in the inner core. She added that while cursing from within the body of the girl who consumed her core, a chance to resolve her grudge arose, allowing her to appear in his dreams that way. It's all because he brought all of her children with him. Soryong knew to himself that in the end, he was the one who gave away her location. He didn't mean to, but he ended up being involved in the death of the blue spot centipede. He watched her. She asked her benefactor if he could grant her one request. He replied yes, and promised to fulfill any request she may have. She asked him to take care of her children until they're fully grown. Soryong was confused since centipedes are supposed to become independent after molting twice from their mother's body. She replied that it may be true for the lesser creatures, but they are different. She explained that until the offspring of her species shed their shells twice, they remain dependent on the ki flowing from their mother's inner core. Afterward, they continue to grow by feeding on the true ki of other beings. It made Soryong asked that since Hwayun consumed the inner core, does it mean that the babies need to stay with her? The mother centipede told him that he needs to understand the circumstances. She pointed out that earlier she cursed the girl. Because of her inner core, the girl's body is emitting a foul odor. She intended to ensure that no man would ever approach the girl, preventing her from ever bearing children. In exchange for lifting the curse, she bargained to let her children absorb the chi from her inner core, and maybe that way Soryang could also win the girl's heart. Soryang thought about it. Then he smiled, and replied that it doesn't sit right with him. He doesn't want to take advantage of Hwayun's difficult situation. The mother centipede couldn't help but admire him for being an honorable person. She asked how he plans to overcome the challenge. She pointed out that the girl is looking for a strong man, and that she can't exactly procure the inner core of the 10 great venomous creatures for him. That gave Soryang an idea. He asked her to trust her on it. He told her to leave it to him, and it will work out well. The next day, Soryang and Hwayun are sitting side by side. Hwayun now understands that the smell coming from her body is due to the blue spot centipede's inner core. Soryang told her that it's right, and that if she attaches the centipedes to her body every few days and let them absorb the chi, the smell will naturally fade away. Hwayun had a question, but she felt uncomfortable saying it. Regardless, she asked him if it's okay with him to share it with her without asking anything in return. She knew that he could easily request something as compensation. Soryang smiled, and then he uttered that he couldn't bring himself to take advantage of a woman's difficult situation. He refused to be that shameless. Hwayun was surprised with his response. She felt bad. She replied that she won't just keep accepting his kindness without offering something in return. Now she considered her father's words seriously. Seeing Soryang made her realize that there are things more valuable than talent or martial prowess. Soryang brought up that he's been thinking as well. He brought up the topic when she mentioned that he has 10 poison bodies and can only absorb 10 types of toxins. So Soryang had an idea. If he could only take in 10 types of toxins, to fill those 10 slots with the toxins of the 10 most venomous creatures of the Central Plains. Hwayun was surprised to hear that. She interpreted it as that he wants to become the strongest under the heavens, all for her sake. The thought made her blush. For one of the 3 flowers of Murim, the venomous flower Tang Hwayun, this was the first time a man had ever made such a bold confession to her. She blushed while Soryang smiled at her. She asked him if he realized what he said, then Soryang replied that he doesn't. Hwayun told him that the path will be incredibly tough and challenging. It might take 10 years, or even 20 years, or maybe a lifetime's worth of effort to take on such a challenge. It was funny how Soryang's expression turned grim while wondering if it would really take that long. Hwayun kept blushing. Hwayun brought up that Soryang is 15 years old, and in 3 years when he comes of age and ready to marry, if he manages to succeed in dealing with even one of the 10 great venomous creatures by then she will be conceived. She embarrassingly said that if he succeeds, there will be a possibility of a wedding. She screamed that she'll be rooting for him, then stood up. Then she dashed away. Soryang was puzzled. He called out to her. She turned around and asked if he still had something to say. He suggested for her to get treated and stay, even if it's just a couple of hours. She was embarrassed, but she came back. He assured her that there's nothing to worry since the little centipede doesn't bite. He gathered his kids. He told them to go to their mom instead of their dad. Hearing that made Hwayun red as a tomato. She asked about the words dad and mom, but immediately Soryang told her that it's not what he meant. Cheol-san, his wife, and Museong are gathered on the table. They talked about how the extraordinary talent of the young warrior couldn't even win his daughter's heart. Museong asked if they saw them this morning. He shared that it looked like something was going on between the two of them. Hwayun's mother replied that it looked like the young warrior was turned down by Hwayun. The men were thinking hard. Museong stated that forcing a marriage isn't the right thing to do, and that it would be better for them to naturally develop feelings for each other. Hwayun's mother suggested to let Hwayun handle the young warrior's martial arts training so they would spend more time together, and that would help them grow closer. Cheol-san replied that it's a good idea. Museong stated that they should find out if the elder healer sage can bestow the grace of the purifying elixir of marrow and essence. If the young warrior's aptitude is low, it can be raised. Cheol-san was surprised that he'd suggest that because it wasn't made possible for Hwayun, so better if they don't get their hopes up. Museong agreed. At the same time, Hwayun is outside the door. She announced herself to her father. Cheol-san asked what brought him that hour. He invited her in. She blushed. She didn't expect to see the 3 of them there. She came because she had something to say. She blushed again. Then in one go, she expressed that she will do as father said. Cheol-san was taken aback. He asked her what she meant. Hwayun's mother invited her to sit, and then she asked her if she meant that the young warrior had caught her interest. She's embarrassed. She couldn't even say a word. Cheol-san was curious as to how this happened suddenly. especially when they thought she didn't like him before. She started saying that the young warrior. Then she relayed that Soryong said he would become the greatest in the world for her. He promised her that. Cheolsun was surprised. He got curious, so she encouraged her to tell him more. She said that although Soryong's innate talent is only at the level of 10 poisons, he promised to fill the gap by defeating 10 great venomous creatures for her sake. Museong was amused. Cheolsun was surprised. Museong laughed out loud and commented that the guy sure has guts. Hwayun's mother was impressed. It's unlikely to find a suitor like that. She explained that though her heart is willing, she told him that she would only agree to marriage if he could capture one of the 10 great venomous creatures before he comes of age. She wondered if he understood her response. Her father joked that she should have said at least 3 creatures. Her mother stated that men aren't particularly sharp about such things. Hwayun asked her mother if she should go explain it to him. Her mother replied no, and that if he doesn't realize that they've already given their approval, he'll try harder. Museong uttered to treat him as a prospective son-in-law, but act as though they're undecided. They expected that with all that effort, he'll naturally become part of the family. Meanwhile, the mother centipede told Soryong that he was impressive. She told him that he completely won the lady's heart. He replied that it's all about guts and perseverance. She smiled at him warmly. She called him her benefactor and informed him that it would likely be her last. Her resentment has been resolved, so her soul will soon ascend to the afterlife. She asked if there's anything he could do for him. She will do whatever is possible. Soryong thought about it. He asked if he could take a look at her body. She felt shy, but she thought it was expected since he's a man after all. She saw him as someone with a weakness for lust. She revealed her shoulder and was about to strip. He asked her if she really needed to take it off. That made her blush even more. She asked if she should not take it off. Soryong clarified that it's not what he meant. It's funny how the children are covering their eyes. Soryong clarified that he wanted to see the appearance of a blue spot centipede. She felt horrified as she understood. Smoke covered the area. Then she revealed her true form. Soryong gasps at the sight of her. He was excited and happy to see her for real. It was amazing how huge she is. He asked if he could touch her, but he's already doing so. He inquired about her body as if it was waterproof. He talked about his vision of her walking. He asked if he could touch her legs, but he's already doing it. He asked how strong her venom is. He asked about her eyes, even her antennae. He was so passionate. The children still have their eyes covered. It's really cute. Soryong was so enthusiastic that he even wanted to touch her fangs. She replied that it was dangerous, but he insisted. It made the blue spot centipede. She's starting to wonder if her daughters are going to be okay with this man. The reason for that is because she knew his touch is anything but ordinary. It's funny and weird how Soryong drools as he caresses her. Cheolsun met Soryong over a cup of tea. He told him that he heard everything from Hwayun, and that is why he'll be treated as their son-in-law. Soryong expressed how he thought he was supposed to wait 3 years. Cheolsun cut him off, saying that the wedding will naturally take place when he had come of age. Soryong tried to clarify that it's not what he meant. Hwayun's mother enthusiastically welcomed Soryong in the family and introduced herself as his son-in-law. Museong was pleased too. He stated that now Hwayun had found a suitable match. Their clan would prosper even more. Soryong looked at Hwayun, as he wondered what's going on when there's supposed to be conditions for marriage. It made him think that they had probably accepted him without any discussion. He decided to play along for now and replied that he's looking forward to everyone's guidance. Soryong was puzzled when Museong told Cheolsun that they should get started right away. Cheolsun informed Soryong that before he could learn the Tang clan poison arts, there's something that they must show him. He asked what it was. The elders had a smirk on their faces. Cheolsun revealed that it's the Hall of 10,000 Poisons. He's certain that it's something that Soryong will absolutely love. They have been waiting for that moment, for Soryong, as a family member, to take his first steps into the Hall of 10,000 Poisons. It's a cherished tradition for the entire family. Soryong called Museong grandfather and expressed that he's looking forward to it. Soryong is excited since he assumed that it's a place where 10,000 kinds of poisons gather. But he saw Hwayun's side face. He couldn't help but be in awe of her beauty. He remembered the saying that beauties are best admired from the side, and currently, it was like a photo shoot that came to life. Soryong blushed. It was funny how he got caught by his in-laws. They had a smirk on their faces. Cheolsun commented that at that rate, he might wear out his daughter's face. He told him that Hwayun is his woman now, yet he gazes at her so absent-mindedly. Mother-in-law couldn't help but express how Soryang looked like he's completely smitten with Hwayeon. Both Hwayeon and Soryang turned red. Hwayeon tells him to watch where he's walking, and Soryang stutters as he replies yes. A short while later, there were 3 men in front of the large door. 2 men stood proudly while their muscles bulged from their body. They reminded me of Upin and Ipin. I don't know why. While a man in the Tang clan's robe is at the center and he welcomes the Grand Patriarch, Museon ordered them to open the gate since he's there to briefly show his grandson-in-law the Hall of 10,000 Poisons. The men obeyed his orders. In his head, Soryang commented how, for something out of the Middle Ages, the security is ridiculously tight. The man in black robe announced to open the gates, and the 2 muscular men grabbed the heavy door and pushed it open. They put all their strength in opening the gigantic door. The man in black robe commented that the gate was opened quicker that day. Soryang was surprised with that reaction. After fully opening the gate, the 2 muscular men looked exhausted. The man in black robe invited them inside. Cheolsun looked at Soryang briefly. While they were passing through, Soryang was bothered to look at the tired muscular men. As if to give consolation, Cheolsun explained that the iron gate is forged from Kunyu steel, sourced from the southern wilderness. Even opening the gate is considered an honor. They have arrived inside. It is the treasure trove where the Tang clan of Sichuan stores all its poisons. It is called the Hall of 10,000 Poisons, for it holds 10,000 poisons. Museong warned him to be cautious and not touch anything recklessly. Soryang replied that he understands. He also confirmed if it chambers 10,000 poisons. Cheolsun shared that the poisons are carefully categorized, such as paralysis poisons, sleep poisons, and many more. These elderly people sure love to tease those 2. It was evident when Cheolsun asked Hwayeon to explain it to Soryang, since he knew Soryang would enjoy hearing it from her. The embarrassment was oozing from Hwayeon and Soryang as they blush. Despite that, Hwayeon accepted the task. Hwayeon grabbed Soryang's hand and led him to the strongest poison of the Tang clan. Hwayeon looked awkward while the elderly adored their interaction. She started pointing at the chi-dissipating poison, the one martial artist fears the most. Once inhaled, it renders energy unusable, so she advised Soryang to be extremely cautious. She pointed out the alimentary canal necrotizing poison, spirit-destroying poison, bloody pulp poison, and even 7-step soul-snatching poison. She told him that all of them are potent poison, but the Tang clan's strongest poison is something else entirely. She gave him a small seed. Soryang was confused. In his head, he saw it similar to a tiger bean. Hwayeon explained that it's the most powerful poison in existence, of course, setting aside the venoms of the 10 great venomous creatures. She added that it's a plant that symbolized the Tang clan. It is called the seed of the castor plant. Soryang was puzzled by its castor seed. He thought of ricin, a highly potent toxalbumin. Just 2 milligrams can be lethal to an adult. It is famously used in the umbrella assassination of Bulgarian dissidents during the Cold War. It's a poison 100,000 times stronger than cyanide. Soryang uttered that it's the poison that comes closest to the Tang clan's ideal, colorless, odorless, tasteless, and formless. That is why they have named it the rarest and most precious of all poisons, golden poison. And when it's used to kill someone, they call it a golden death. Hwayeon told him to take note. The strongest poison isn't the one that inflicts the most agony or causes the most gruesome death. The strongest poison is the one that kills silently, swiftly, and without leaving a trace. She shared that Sichuan Tang clan's poison arts strive for the ideal, the stealth and certainty. In Soryang's head, they are comparable to a clan of assassins. Museong told them that it's enough for now. Museong invited him to go see the venomous beasts that Soryang has been eager to see. Museong even offered, if Soryang is interested, he could even oversee their care, and that the clan will provide full support for anything he requires. In Soryang's head, the translation is that they will support his hobby. He looked so excited. When they were about to go, the patriarch was immediately called. Pai was panting hard for running fast. They asked him what's the matter. Pai told the patriarch that he needs to head to Black Tortoise Pavilion immediately. The patriarch asked why. Pai was about to say something about the clan elder, but Museong cut him off with his burst of anger. He asked what those bastards are up to now. Soryang was thinking if they are pertaining to the branch family members that Weiyun mentioned. Pai informed him that there are 2 issues. First, the medicine they sent to the Sichuan city lord didn't have the desired effect, and he sent back a letter full of complaints. Before Pai reveals the second one, he looked at Soryang first. Soryang sighed. Pai revealed that it was about the Hall of 10,000 Poisons. Museong anticipated that rumors were already circulating. They decided to leave for now, but not without Museong ordering Soryong to come with them. At the Black Tortoise Pavilion, the elders noticed the patriarch. They started complaining how he made such a critical decision on his own. They protested him choosing an orphan of unknown origins to pair with their beloved Hwayun. That triggered Cheol-san. He didn't like that they said that Soryong is an orphan with unknown origins. Cheol-san started emitting a green aura from his body while asking if they were insulting his son-in-law. The elders of the clan insisted that it's true. Museong yelled that he's the one who made the decision. He asked if they had a problem with it. The elders of the clan were flustered. The elders asked the Grand Patriarch to talk some sense into the patriarch. They expressed that entrusting the management of 10,000 poisons to an outsider with unproven abilities is absurd. Museong emphasized that he just said that he approved it himself. While this was happening, Hwayun was conscious of Soryong, and she whispered an apology to him. In Soryong's head, his initial thought was, goodness. He sighed upon realizing that he made her worry. In his head, it's her who should be apologizing. Everyone was surprised when they heard Soryong say, "Excuse me, sorry to interrupt your conversation." Then he started saying that since it's an issue that stems from his lack of ability, he suggested to demonstrate his skills and prove himself to the elders of the clan. The elders were caught off guard. Soryong uttered that he could do that by helping them solve the troublesome issue with the Sichuan city lord. In a hushed tone, Hwayun asked him what he's trying to do. Soryong isn't the type to step forward and make a fuss, but if they are disrupting his peaceful pet owner life, then this man won't just let it slide. Soryong had rendered the elders speechless. Eventually, they got triggered. They lectured him for butting in the conversation of the clan elders. They even challenged him if he knew what the city lord of Sichuan province's letter said before barging in like that. They called him an insolent nobody and reported him to the clan head for daring to meddle. The elders used this chance to point out why they suggested someone from a respectable established martial clan as a son-in-law instead. Cheol-san's wife is starting to get annoyed. Deep inside, Soryong thought about how these old codgers, the more they talk, the more absurd they sound. When he was Spicy Fabre, he had more than 1 million total subscribers with an average of over 3,000 viewers per stream. He told them that from what he had heard, the elders still refused to recognize him as the son-in-law of the Sichuan Tang clan. So in short, he's still a guest. With Spicy Fabre's large fan base, there were many disruptive trolls causing chaos without any real purpose. Soryong emphasized that he saved the precious daughter of the Sichuan Tang clan, Lady Hwayun. On top of that, he also defeated that blood-hand Rakshasa, Takunyang, and saved the life of the patriarch. He challenged them by asking if it's part of the Sichuan Tang clan's etiquette to insult a guest and benefactor to their face. Deep inside, Soryong knew that the kind of malice he saw with the elders is nothing compared to the trolling he dealt with as a streamer. It's downright adorable by comparison. The elders were embarrassed and put to their place. They admitted that they spoke hastily and out of desperation. In his head, he thought of them as pathetic. The Grand Patriarch was amazed by Soryong. One elder brought up that taking down the bloodhand Rakshasa, Tak-Unyan, was going too far. The Patriarch replied that Soryong is telling the truth, and he showed them a document. Upon seeing that, the elder gasped. Their jaws dropped when they confirmed that it's the Blood Hand Poison Art's secret manual. It was written in blood, so it's authentic and belonged to the blood sect. The Patriarch encouraged Soryong to show the elders the spotted centipedes. Soryong gently tapped on his chest while telling the elders to look at it. The 3 baby spotted centipedes came out happily. The elders felt nervous upon seeing that. The Patriarch explained that it was the offspring of the blue spotted centipede, and he proudly shared that his son-in-law is raising them. He narrated that those little ones were the killers of Tak-Unyang by biting him to death. The elder couldn't believe his ears. He confirmed what the Patriarch meant, that the young warrior managed to control a blue spot centipede. The Patriarch Soryong and Gupe had devilish grins on their faces while teasing the elders. Cheol-san cited them for addressing Soryong as a young warrior, as a sign of them refusing to recognize Soryong as his son-in-law. Soryong even managed to warn them not to bite, otherwise they'll end up as black and lifeless as Takunyang. The elders were stunned. Their attitude changed by denying that they refused to accept Soryong. They tried to come up with lame excuses like there's a process and it's natural for them to hesitate. The Grand Patriarch sighed and decided to set aside the matter regarding their son-in-law for now. He inquired as to why Soryong can't enter the Hall of 10,000 Poisons. The elders reasoned out that Soryong hasn't fully become part of the family yet. Besides that, the elders couldn't entrust the Hall of 10,000 Poisons to a young warrior who hasn't even reached the age of maturity. The Grand Patriarch told them that the solution is simple. He requested Soryong to demonstrate his ability. Soryong had a grin on his face while he informed them that to be able to prove that he's worthy of the Sichuan Tang clan, he will do it the Sichuan Tang clan's way. And that is by using poison. The elders went crazy. They confirmed if what Soryong meant is that he'll poison the lord of the Sichuan province. They called Soryong an idiot for killing the lord instead of sending medicine. Soryong was confused. Deep inside, he's confused because he's under the impression that the Sichuan Tang clan deals with poison. The next day, the Grand Patriarch informed Soryong that from then on, he will begin learning the Tang clan's martial art, 5 Venoms returning technique. Soryong asked if it will involve physical training as well. The Grand Patriarch replied that as he practices martial arts, his body will naturally adapt to align with the techniques he learns. Musayong elaborated that the Tang clan prioritizes practicality, so he will learn skills that can be immediately applied in real situations. Musayong unpacked the weapons. There were arrows, daggers, shuriken, and many more. They started with throwable concealed weapons such as needles, coins, darts, powder, daggers, and throwing knives. There are many unconventional concealed weapons, but most can be categorized into 5 types. Musayong asked Soryong if he knew which one of them is the easiest to handle. Soryong guessed that it's the dagger or throwing knife. He was correct. Musayong asked him what he thinks is the most difficult. Soryong answered the powder since it has to be scattered effectively. Musayong informed him that the needle was the most difficult. Soryong assumed that it's because it's small and thin, making it hard to throw. Musayong replied that it wasn't just that. It's because Soryong must always remember the exact position where he threw it. Musayong decided to demonstrate it since it's easier to understand that way. He took out a brush, he separated the head from the handle, and then he made a sudden movement of throwing an item. It was the hair of the brush and it floated in the air. But then it turned into needles, and it fell on the ground like rain. Soryong couldn't believe how the bristles were embedding themselves like needles. It kept falling from the sky. Musayong shared that the Tang clan has a hidden weapon technique called sky-obscuring flower rain. It's a secret art of the Tang clan where hundreds or even thousands of needles fall like a rain of flowers covering the area. In Soryong's head, it sounds like he had to spread needles everywhere and fight in that turf. Soryong politely communicated that if the entire area is filled with such needles, there would hardly be any space left to move. That's when Musayong laughed and replied that it's exactly as it is. Soryong must remember the positions of the needle so he won't end up falling victim to his own technique. To Soryong, it was unbelievable. Soryong sweat profusely as he confirms with Musayong if he meant that he needed to remember the positions of needles that deflects the opponents, or those that fall out of place. Musayong replied, of course. Musayong informed him that with 5 Poison's body, he would have to memorize at least 100 positions just to begin. Soryong turned pale. When that was over, Soryong fell face down on the ground. Lady Huayun appeared. She asked him if she looked prepared. She's been wearing a beekeeping suit since she heard that he's going to catch a hornet. She asked if it's unnecessary. Soryong replied not at all. He was planning to wait for one, but with that, they can catch it themselves. Huayun double-checked with him if he was waiting for the hornet to come. Soryong replied that she'll understand once they get there. Soryong asked her if she knew where the hornet's nest was. Huayun replied that she found one nearby so they can go there right away. Soryong had also put on a beekeeping suit. Huayun brought up the topic about the letter sent to the city lord of the Sichuan province and asked him if he had seen it. Soryong replied yes. Huayun was worried that since he's still young, he might not have fully understood the contents of the letter. Huayun was blushing. Soryong told her that Yangqi in men is quite important. Huayun felt embarrassed, so she told him it's enough. It also looked like he's aware of it. The great issue troubling the city lord of Sichuan is none other than erectile dysfunction. Or simply put, his rod is not getting hard anymore. Huayun became suspicious of Soryong since he knew so much for his age. Soryong made an excuse because he lived alone for a while. Huayun felt embarrassed, so she quickened her pace. Few hours later, they arrived at the forest. Soryong got distracted with the creatures in there. Huayun had to keep him on track until they reached the place. It was like a mini cave, and it certainly looked like a place where hornets would inhabit. Huayun inquired what it meant to find a bee-lacking hive. They started putting on their head protectors. Soryang explained that it means that while they came looking for hornets, they won't be capturing any. Hwayun was puzzled. They made their way towards the hole. Soryang informed her that the venomous insect that they are after can be found in smaller, weaker hives. Hwayun didn't know about that. Fortunately, it seems that the hive has what they are looking for. An insect came out, and using chopsticks, Soryang captured it. They didn't come there to catch a hornet. The insect that they were after is that. The little thing will solve the Sichuan city lord's troubles. Hwayun asked about the bug. She asked if it's a ground beetle. She guessed it right. Because of that, Soryang found out that it is called ground beetle in that world. The bug caught in the giant hornet nest is referred to as a ground beetle in Central Plains. In the modern era, it's called blister beetle. Hwayun asked if it's normal for ground beetles to be found in a hornet nest. Soryang explained that their life cycle is quite peculiar. Blister beetles have a rather unusual method of reproduction. Normally, most insects either guard the spot where they lay eggs or create a safe environment for their eggs to hatch. But the little creature simply lays eggs wherever it pleases. There was a funny skit where the blister beetle told the boss to hold up because she got to drop some eggs before heading out. Anywhere will do. No fuss, no frills. It just lays them. The bare minimum of consideration it shows is dumping them all in one spot. Anyway, when the miracle happens and the blister beetle larvae hatch, they start crawling toward the highest place nearby. And when the larvae of the blister beetle reach the top, they do something bizarre. They cluster together and imitate a flower. And then bees mistake the fake flower for the real thing and approach it. The moment the bee gets close enough, the entire swarm jumps onto the carpenter bee's body in an instant. And that's it. Game over. The carpenter bee's home is as good as gone. Soryang isn't sure why they favored giant hornet nests, but apparently, it's the most suitable environment for the ground beetle larvae to grow. Hwayun felt sorry for the giant hornet. Soryang replied that there's nothing that can be done about it. Hwayun knew that the bug causes burns on the skin. She heard eating too much of it can even be fatal. Soryang affirmed that idea. The orange liquid dripping from a blister beetle contains a toxic substance called cantheridin. When this substance touches the skin, it creates blisters akin to burns. Hwayun blushed and asked if it had that effect. Soryang replied yes, and that it immediately raises a man's rod. Hwayun, feeling embarrassed, made him stop explaining. She encouraged him to go back to the Hall of 10,000 Poisons. Soryang wanted to catch a few more. Now they have secured the ground beetle, blister beetle. After that, they returned to the Hall of 10,000 Poisons and taught the warriors how to prepare the medicine. Soryang told them to listen carefully. He instructed them to dry the ground beetle and grind it into powder. He told them that 1/10 of that powder is toxic. The poison becomes life-threatening when 3 mo of it are ingested. If a person consumes 3/10 of 1 mo of the poison per guan body weight, about half of those who ingest it will die. So, Soryang requested them to prepare medicine with 1/10 of 1 mo of the poison. That would be roughly the amount of 10 drops of liquid. So, 1 mo is 3.75 milligrams. 1 guan is 3.75 kilograms. He asked them if that made sense. Deep inside, Soryang felt that his brain was about to explode. One warrior removed his mask and stated that Soryang's explanations are incredibly detailed. They never expected him to be skilled in mathematics. The warrior assured Soryang that he will make sure they succeed no matter what. Soryang expressed how he depends on them. Later that night, someone was talking about how it was surreal that ground beetles had such effects. It was Musong, and he's talking to Hwayun. It made Musong think of reevaluating the poisons in the Tang clan's arsenal. Hwayun expressed the same. Then he brought up the topic of Soryang being good at math. Hwayun shared how Soryang calculated the solution's concentration and estimated it to match the weight of 10 drops of liquid. That was amazing. Musong admitted that he thought of himself to be knowledgeable in the field of poisons, but Soryang was on a different level. The more he learns about him, the more he realizes what a gem that child is. He teased Hwayun, asking if she liked Soryang even more now. Hwayun blushed. Hwayun expressed how she feels regret because of her being hasty in the beginning. Musong replied that as long as she makes up for it going forward, that's what matters. Musong asked how they plan to test the medicine once it's complete. Hwayun blushed. She's red as a tomato. She mentioned how the branch family elders are saying that Soryang has been too insolent. Soryang stated that he'd test it by raising the clan elders straight up. Museong's jaw dropped. He laughed out loud while saying that the kid is amusing. The next day, they were all gathered in a hall. The clan elders were skeptical. The warrior gave Soryang a wooden box. Then the warrior informed him that he blended licorice powder and honey to make it sweeter and easier to consume. Soryung was amazed how the man paid attention to even the smallest details. Soryung asked the warrior if he made it exactly as he described. The warrior replied that he followed the instructions carefully. Other clan members commented to stop making such a big deal out of it. They even challenged how amazing it could possibly be. The patriarch ordered silence. Then he asked Soryung how he'll prove the efficacy of the medicine. Soryung acted surprised about it. The clan elders yelled that it's natural that they have to confirm it. One elder screamed that they would never dare send poison with unverified efficacy to the city lord of Sichuan. One elder seconded that if something goes wrong, it could lead to a major disaster. Soryung replied that there's no other choice. The warrior understood. The clan elders were confused, because the warrior gave them the medicine. They got annoyed that it seemed like Soryung was telling them to test it. A loud elder asked Soryung if he even knew what that thing was. The other elder commented that Soryung played outside for so long that it seems like his insides turned black too. Soryung grinned. He called his grandfather. Museong asked what he needed. The Soryung brought up what Museong said earlier, that those who have mastered martial arts of the Tang clan are never afraid of poison. Museong got along with Soryung's scheme and affirmed that statement. And then Soryung pointed out that the elders' reaction implied that they are scared. Museong agreed with him again. Soryung taunted the great elders of a clan that has surely attained the level of mastering 100 poisons. He used reverse psychology and expressed that surely those elders aren't afraid of something trivial as ground beetle poison. That angered the elder, and he split the medicine into two. They stated that they have nothing to fear about such low-grade insignificant poison. They took the medicine. They told Soryung that he underestimated them. They threatened Soryung that if it did nothing, he would face consequences. The elder yelled that they will be the one to uphold the laws and principles of their clan. They chewed it. Silence followed. Then they smirked and yelled that nothing is happening at all. But the elder felt his manhood stood up. The long slumber of the snake was over. They were embarrassed. And so that day, the laws and principles of the clan were set straight, pun intended. It happened magnificently. The medicine was sent to the city lord of Sichuan. Its effects were proven to be excellent. A little while later, the elders walked the hall holding their pants away from them to hide the evidence. I remember I used to walk like this when that time came. Anyway, Soryung told Museong that it was just as he said. Provoking the elders with something related to poison made them fall for it immediately. Museong knew that they're the type of people who have nothing left but their pride, so naturally it would happen. But Museong is also aware that their actions come from a place of concern for the clan. He told Soryung not to resent them so much. Museong uttered that in the end, they are all one family. Soryung replied that he understands. Hwaeun hastily made her way. She reported to them that something terrible happened. They asked her what it was, and she told him that their children are acting strange. Soryung blushed and was dumbfounded. Museong became scary when he called his grandson-in-law and grabbed him by the collar. Museong asked him what the meaning of that was. He asked why they have kids. Soryung was drenched in cold sweat. Museong grabbed Soryung on the back of his neck and asked why they have children, especially when they haven't even had their wedding ceremony yet. Hwaeun yelled that what she meant weren't human children, but the spotted centipedes, the one that Soryung is raising. Soryung was stunned. Overly surprised was an understatement of his reaction. Lately, he has been doing a lot of physical training sessions, and each time he asked Hwaeun to take care of them. He ended up completely forgetting about them. He was worried that something had happened to his babies. He requested to see. It was like he's about to grab Hwaeun's bosom since she keeps them there. Hwaeun squealed that they're not there. Museong was dumbfounded. A moment later, the 3 blue-spotted centipedes were all brown and weak. A handprint was plastered on Soryung's face. It was funny how he slapped because of his actions earlier. Soryung stared at the centipedes intensely, while Museong was curious if those centipedes just dropped from Hwaeun's body with a thud. Hwaeun replied that those seemed fine earlier, but now she's concerned that they might be getting sick. Their color looks a little pale, and their shells seem odd. Soryung assured her that there's no reason to worry. He explained that it is called shedding. Creatures like centipedes with hard shells shed them when they grow bigger. And that probably was happening. Museong asked if those are already shedding their shells. Soryung replied that it will happen soon. A little one moved weirdly. Then the head came out. They were impressed. It was quite an amazing sight. Then the other 2 started shedding their shells too. They shed successfully. They are all out now. Hwayeon noticed that they looked almost twice as big as before. She asked if those little ones have names. Soryong realized that they don't. His thinking face looked funny. And what's funnier is the name that he came up with. Number 1, number 2, number 3. It was so silly that Hwayeon refused to accept it. She reasoned that the spotted centipedes are said to turn into dragons after living for 1,000 years. So, they need dignified dragon-worthy names. Soryong childishly argues that there's no way a spotted centipede will turn into a dragon even after 1,000 years. Museong joined the banter by saying that a 1,000-year-old spotted centipede is called a dragon. From that response, Soryong had realized that it must be grandfather who taught Hwayeon that. But then Soryong seriously thought about the name. Then he decided to call them Nova, Myra, and Grace. The first one is Nova, symbolizing beginning. The second is Myra, which means fragrance. And the third is Grace, representing something elegant or gentle. Hwayeon was delighted. She didn't object because the pretense of naming the children is the father's responsibility anyway. The spotted centipedes now have their names. A full day later, the spotted centipedes returned to cling to Soryong. His body still doesn't feel completely dry yet, but it was good enough to move around now. But he still feels awkward. The centipedes are now heavier. They used to be about the size of a thick sausage, but now they have grown as large as his forearm. It seems like the spotted centipedes felt that his embrace was too tight for them, so now they've coiled snugly around his arms and waist. While he was laying there snuggling with the centipedes, he heard someone talking. 2 men were passing by. One of them had a loaded pouch in his hand and stated that the Sichuan Tang clan is always so extravagant. He invited his friend to hit up the brothel, and his friend thought it was a good idea. They laughed while saying that making money has never been that easy. Soryong got curious about that. At the pavilion, Cheolsun stated that he has great news. It's about the medicine that they sent to the city lord of Sichuan. He shared how it worked exceptionally well, and the city lord sent a message of gratitude and included a generous reward. Soryong and Hwayeon were delighted. Cheolsun was also proud and happy to have reaped such benefits as soon as he took Soryong as his son-in-law. Soryong had really done something remarkable. Soryong was glad that he was able to help. Because of that, Cheolsun suggested to grant Soryong one of his elixirs, since, had he called it a reward, Soryong would probably refuse out of modesty. Soryong's grandpa said before that an elixir is something that enhances internal energy. Hwayeon asked what kind of elixir it is. Cheolsun replied that it's nothing extraordinary. It's the honey of the golden-haired king bee. In Soryong's mind, he put those words together and deduced that it was regular honey. But he knew how internal energy is crucial for becoming a martial master, so he decided to accept it for now. He was about to thank his father-in-law when Hwayeon cut him off. She reminded him that he's going to reward Soryong, so she questioned why it's just honey. Cheolsun got nervous seeing Hwayeon's threatening demeanor. She argues that what Soryong had accomplished is no feat. Even if the golden-haired king bee is a mid-level venomous creature, honey is the lowest grade among elixirs. She told him that he shouldn't be stingy when rewarding Soryong for such a great achievement. That made Soryong shy. She scolded her father, saying that he should be granting something that is a year's worth of internal energy. She couldn't fathom how he can give an elixir that only provides 2 months' worth of internal energy. Cheolsun was sad, and he reasoned out that it's still an elixir, and it was quite expensive to obtain. But that triggered Hwayeon even more. She argues that compared to what Soryong has done, it's a pittance. Cheolsun was in a difficult situation. Soryong inquired what the golden-haired king bee was all about. Cheolsun explained that it's a mid-tier venomous creature occasionally found in jungles. Its size is as big as a small dog. It is said that consuming its honey grants internal energy equivalent to 2 full months of reclusive meditation. Imagining the size of the bee, he was excited and amused. But Hwayeon put reins on his thoughts. She told him that he's making her feel upset on his behalf. Cheolsun clarified that his intention wasn't like that. It's only because he thought that Soryong might want to see the golden-haired king bee in person. Hearing that got Soryong excited. He clarified if he's suggesting that he should see the golden-haired king himself. It's exactly what Cheolsun had in mind. Internally, Soryong interpreted that as harvesting the honey himself. He used to do it a few times back in his days as a YouTuber. The gentlemen excitedly made their way to the door. Soryong shared that when it comes to bees, he's basically an expert. Cheolsun knew Soryong would like that idea. Soryong inquired what the golden-haired king bee even looked like. Cheolsun simply replied that it's like bees. Huayan could only sigh. And so, the honey harvesting journey began. Chilson provided them with premium, top-tier information, so they thought there wouldn't be any competitors. But when they arrived, there were two clans fighting. Apparently, those people bought the information too. One clan asked the other if the guy they bought it from has scruffy hair and a big mole on his face. The other clan replied that it's exactly the guy, but whatever the case, they won't back down easily. Hearing those descriptions, Soryong remembered the two guys that passed by him. He realized that those two went around selling information everywhere. One guy got really into those scammers. He yelled, "How dare you insult the Sichuan Tang clan in Sichuan?" His loud, angry voice, and hearing that they're from Sichuan Tang clan, made those guys nervous. Well, now, the peaceful honey harvesting trip is far from that idea. Before Soryong leaves for his first journey outside, Chilson warned him to be cautious. As a member of their family and someone from the Tang clan, he should never forget who he is. Soryong politely replied yes to that. Then Chilson looked at something on his side, which made Soryong turn his head too. There were men lined up in front of them. Chilson informed Soryong that he will be leading those people. It was time for him to learn to manage others. Soryong was flustered. Soryong thought it should be Hwa-Yun. Chilson called him silly and explained that since Hwa-Yun is his woman and he is his partner, that makes him the highest authority in the group. Upon hearing the word partner, Soryong blushed. Hwa-Yun had faith that he will do well and she promised to help him along the way. He replied that he'll do his best. But now that he's in the midst of that chaos, he asked himself what he should do. He asked the man with him what they should do in that situation. He wondered if it's better to share the information with them. Soryong is speaking with the Venom Blood Unit's leader, Wolfgang. Wolfgang wasn't pleased that someone dared to share the information of the Tang clan. Hwa-Yun seconded that whoever it is, that person had some guts. She was seriously pissed off, and she expressed that with her intimidating aura while questioning the selling information purchased by the Sichuan Tang clan to someone else. Those from other clans recognized her, the poisonous flower of the three flowers of Murim. One man couldn't believe that a direct descendant of the Tang clan, the poisonous flower, is in there in person. The man was forced to greet. He represented the Central Wind sect and clarified that they have no intention of interfering with the Sichuan Tang clan's affairs. He stated that they will withdraw. The Noble Origin sect also decided to withdraw. Even if it pains them, the Jade Ghost Slayer follows to withdraw too. One of them vowed to catch that rat bastard and skin him alive. They all scurried away. Soryong realized the influence of the Sichuan Tang clan. He asked if it was resolved. Wolfgang replied no. He knew that those unorthodox bastards wouldn't back off so easily. Wolfgang suggested that they set a camp nearby and take shifts keeping watch. He knew that those men were probably hiding, waiting for the right moment. He instructed Gu Pei to go find out where they had set up camp. Soryong looked worried. Hwa-Yun assured him that it will be okay. He was more concerned about his honeybee. They hid behind a boulder as they watched the bees. The bee actually looked cute. It's like wearing faux fur on its body. Several of them flew inside the trunk. Soryong got excited upon seeing those golden-haired king bees. Hwa-Yun admitted that it's her first time seeing two. She pointed out how big it is. Soryong finds them cute. Hwa-Yun was amazed with their fluffy fur. Wolfgang is pleased seeing them too. Soryong noticed how their colony seemed small. It was like there's only a few hundred of them. But considering their size, that made sense. Hwa-Yun asked about colonies. Soryong explained that it's the group of the bees. Usually, a small hive would have about 5,000 to 7,000 bees. Hwa-Yun was shocked that Soryong could tell that without even entering the hive. Soryong replied that he can estimate it by observing how many bees go in and out of the entrance. Someone appeared behind them. It was Pai, and he reported that they located those unorthodox bastards. Wolfgang inquired where they were. Pai hesitated to answer at first. But as Wolfgang expected, those bastards have set up their camp on the opposite side. They don't seem to be doing much, but if something happens, they'll definitely make a move. Wolfgang decided to wait until nightfall and harvest the honey using the Tang clan's method. Soryong inquired about that method. Wolfgang explained that if mugwort leaves are burned, the smoke will calm the bees, and during that time, they can harvest the honey. Soryong replied that it's an excellent method, but Pai was concerned that the wind was blowing towards them at the moment. With that, their plan went down the drain. Then, Soryong thought of something. Pai asked him if it's something clever. Soryong explained that if the wind is blowing towards them, it would mask their scent. Then he decided to take this chance to go for a quick visit. He was already on his way when Wei-yun grabbed his shirt to stop him because it was dangerous. The golden-haired king bee is a mid-level venomous creature. But Soryong was crazy about it. He stated that he'll just touch it once and come back. While he was struggling to get out of Wei-yun's grip, a pebble fell, and it rolled towards the hive. They instantly knew it was bad news. In a blink of an eye, the colony swarmed outside. Wei-yun grabbed Soryong as she made a run for it. Afterward, they got scolded to hell and back. It was dusk, and Soryong still kept thinking of another way. If they light the fire against the wind, they will be caught between the unorthodox bastards and the hive. The golden-haired king bee is a bit different from the bees that he knew. They are bees that detect ground vibrations from over 30 kilometers away. Even ground bees can't do that. Hua-yun found him. She shared that the kids finished their meal. They kept trying to wander off, so she brought them to him. Soryong thanked her. Soryong gently told the little ones to behave. Hua-yun sat beside Soryong, which made him flustered. She asked him if he had made progress. He replied that he needs to observe a bit more. She admitted that she felt like she's pressuring him, so she apologized for that. She told him to take his time and not feel burdened, but that actually had the opposite effect on him. Hua-yun noticed something on the opposite side of the old tree. There were monkeys. The monkeys were noisy. Hua-yun noticed how one monkey was so angry. Soryong called her name. Then he asked her if she smelled something sweet. Hua-yun noticed the scent. Soryong realized that it could be pheromones. Soryong hurriedly told her that they need to leave because the bees are about to swarm. Hua-yun grabbed him and hastily ran away. She leapt high and made some distance. She's still holding Soryong by the armpits. Hua-yun was stunned. The bees quickly flew out of the hive. Their target is the fallen monkeys. They feasted on the corpse. That was a close call for those couples. Hua-yun was intrigued on how Soryong knew that the golden-haired king bees were about to attack, because he was able to warn her to get away before they even heard the buzzing. He replied that it's because of the scent. Hua-yun had finally noticed the faint smell of magn. Soryong was astonished that she can actually distinguish the scent of pheromones. Soryong asked her if she recognized the scent she smelled earlier. She replied yes. She stated that it smelled like a magnolia flower. Soryong was excited to have found the answer. While he laughs like an evil maniac, Hua-yun blushes because his hands are on her shoulders. With a devilish grin on his face, he stated that he had thought of a way to wipe out those unorthodox bastards who were after his honeybees. The men from different clans were chilling around the bonfire. They drank liquor and feasted on the meat. One of them asked the others when they thought the Tang clan would go to gather the honey. A man replied that it's hard to say. 3 days ago, they were wandering everywhere, but now things have gone quiet. Someone expressed that the Tang clan might make a move soon. Another person gave a vague reply that it could be. Another man questioned if the beehives could really bring in money. A man was slightly annoyed with this dumb question. He commented how the man seemed like he's been living under a rock his whole life. Then he elaborated that candles made from the beeswax of the golden-haired king bee are treasures used exclusively by the imperial family. The man assumed that the Tang clan will certainly take only the honey and leave, so the remaining beehives are for them to take. The men had evil thoughts for when the Tang clan got wiped out. Someone brought up the topic about a notorious poisoner, the 3 flowers of Murim. They decided to keep an eye on and make sure she doesn't die. They liked that idea, especially that she's a beauty. Their lecherous nature was evident when they expressed how their skin tingled with excitement with just the thought of it. They even joked that one of them might even end up as the Tang clan's son-in-law. But they stopped when someone noticed a scent. It had a pleasant smell. One of them thought that it's her, the poisonous flower's scent. They even assumed that the poisonous flower's natural scent is as intoxicating as that. Suddenly, there was a loud noise. They wondered what it was. Something had formed in the sky. They were all terrified and confused as to what it is. They realized it's a swarm of golden-haired bees. They immediately ran. The golden-haired bees chased after them. They screamed as the bees' attack landed on them. The mixture that produces the smell was scattered on the ground. It was positioned like a trail. Soryong, Hua-yun, and Wolgang watched behind the bushes. Hua-yun and Wolgang couldn't believe it worked. The bees are heading in one direction. Huayun asked Soryong what he did. She didn't expect the bees to get furious over the scent of flowers. Soryong replied that it's because he ordered the bees to launch a full-scale attack. Huayun was confused when he said full-scale attack since Soryong only crushed some flowers and fruits and sprinkled their juice around. Soryong explained that the scent triggered an attack order. Pheromone is a chemical signal used by animals of the same species to communicate, especially social insects like ants and wasps. They rely heavily on pheromones. The pheromone that Soryong utilized is the exact scent bees release when they launch a full-scale attack. It's called isoamyl acetate. Huayun confirmed with him if he meant that magnolias emit the same scent that bees use to signal an attack. She was fascinated. But Soryong was more fascinated with her ability to recognize the scent. Huayun explained that it's because the Tang clan specializes in poisons, so she must have been sensitive to scents. It was about time. With the golden-haired king bees off launching their full-scale attack, Soryong decided to enter the hive, and to harvest the golden-haired king bees' honey. They cautiously head in. Soryong brought a makeshift incense wrapped in leaves. Wolgang told Soryong that it's dangerous. He offered to take the lead. They were impressed by how big it was. It was amazing. The honeycombs were like a large golden chandelier on the ceiling. It was beautiful. And fortunately for Soryong, Huayun, and Wolgang, the bees have left. Soryong noticed something. There was no honey at all. Wolgang replied that it can't be right. He inspected the honeycomb, and it was empty just as Soryong predicted. Wolgang finds it strange because it has never happened before. Soryong realized something. There were no eggs in the hive either. Wolgang inquired if that has something to do with the hive being empty of honey. Soryong replied that the bees were preparing to migrate from the start. That must be why they consumed all stored honey and carried it in their stomachs. Soryong theorized that it's because they sensed too many human presences nearby. Huayun agreed. Soryong explained that when bees prepare to migrate, they stop laying eggs, and they no longer have the capacity to care for larvae. Then, RMC saw something. He saw the back end of the bee. Soryong had a large grin on his face and asked the leader how long he could last if he continuously used his mobility arts without rest. Wolgang replied that if he paces himself and runs steadily, he can manage about half a day. Wolgang inquired why Soryong brought that up. Suddenly, Pei appeared and reported the golden-haired bees. They are coming back, so Soryong must leave immediately. They hurriedly ran. Wolgang told Soryong to give up. Huayun hurried to Soryong's side. She grabbed her shirt and told him to hurry up. Pei panicked and told them to get out at once. There was something bulging from Soryong's chest. Time passed by. That was really close. Huayun was grateful that they managed to get out before the bees came back. She couldn't finish her sentence because she got distracted. She asked what Soryong had on his chest. Soryong's immediate reaction was, "Oh." The little bee's head appeared from his clothing. Soryong replied that it's the queen bee of the golden-haired king bees. Since there's no honey, he brought the one who can make it. Upon hearing that, everyone made a nervous expression, and they all turned pale while beads of sweat formed on their faces. The queen bee looked so cute as it made a small bee noise. With a devilish smirk on his face, Soryong told Wolgang that the bees will realize that their queen is missing, and any moment then, they will start chasing them. It's funny how, instead of being worried, Soryong actually looked delighted while rubbing the queen bee's head. He told them that they should run. And so began the life-or-death chase. Wolgang carried Soryong on his back, and they ran as fast as they could. The queen bee was fussy. Soryong rubbed its head while telling it to stay still for a moment. He assured the queen bee that he'll take her somewhere people won't bother them. It's been a few days since the honeybee race of death began. During that time, the group pushed themselves to their limits, reducing sleep and fully exerting their mobility arts. They were all out of breath and energy. By the time they reached their destination, a few of the warriors from the Venom Blood unit had already fallen behind. Soryong promised himself to demand mobility arts to be taught to him when they got back. One of the warriors tripped and fell. The warrior beside him was surprised and announced that another one had fallen. The fallen one is Huang Duryong of the Venom Blood unit. He actually looked half dead as he lay on the ground, and his face had dark circles beneath his eyes, snot and saliva dripping from his open mouth. Soryong had dark circles too. He's now hopeful that when the queen bee is far enough from the colony, they won't be able to attack. Wolgang is starting to lose hope as he asks Soryong if they can really escape. Soryong gave a vague answer. 3 days later, another warrior fell face down on the ground. He apologized to Soryong since he can no longer move. Soryong was worried for Wolgang. Hwayun decided that he will carry Soryong instead. Soryong suggested that it's better if he ran himself. Hwayun was shy, but despite her haggard look, she promised that she could do it. She announced that a member of the Tang clan never gives up. At the entrance of the Tang clan's house, 2 guards were stationed. They noticed someone approaching, and they recognized that it was their young lady. Hwayun and Soryong supported each other to stand. The guard's jaw dropped when he saw how they looked. The family members were called immediately. With all the fuss, Museong and Cheol-san came out. They were stunned when they saw the faces of the two. Hwayun really looked messed up. Cheol-san lays Hwayun's head on his lap as he heals her. He's furious, and he asks Soryong what was the meaning of all that. Soryong told him to calm down and explain that Hwayun is simply exhausted after using mobility arts for 10 days without a break. Soryong was in a hurry and told them that there's no time for it and they must hurry to the training grounds. Museong was confused. Soryong took something from his clothing and showed them the queen bee. He explained that the other bees swarm there soon, so they must head to the ancient tree in the training grounds. Everyone's expression couldn't be painted. They were all dumbfounded except for Museong, who laughed, amused with the brat. Cheol-san couldn't believe it since he sent Soryong to fetch honey, and yet he came back with the queen bee. Museong placed his hand around Soryong's shoulder and told them that they'll go. Soryong screamed out loud when suddenly, Museong jumped high while carrying him. Museong hurried. Soryong suddenly screamed, so the old man asked what was wrong. Soryong told him that the bees are swarming towards them. Museong saw that there were a lot. He asked if he brought all those with him. They're almost there, so they hurried. Soryong's body couldn't catch up with the speed. Good thing Museong's hands acted like a seatbelt. They eventually arrived. Soryong made his way to the tree. He explained to the golden-haired queen bee that it's the place that he mentioned earlier, and it will be their new home. Soryong let go of the golden-haired queen bee while asking, "Not bad, right?" The queen bee made a bye noise as if she understood him. She checked out the tree and turned to Soryong while looking excited, as if she's expressing that he's right. Soryong wondered if she really liked it. Museong told Soryong that they must leave for now since the bees are coming. The members of the clan watched the colony of bees fly above them. The golden-haired queen made bee noises as if she's calling them. The bees head for the tree. Museong was astonished. He expressed that in all his years, he had never seen anything like it before. Mission accomplished. The golden-haired queen bee has been successfully captured. Few moments later, we see these cute dog-sized bees drinking something. Sugar water was given to the golden-haired bees who were exhausted from following them. Well, after all, there's a saying that bonds are built over food, and goodwill begins with a meal. They're fortunate that there was something similar to refined sugar in that world, so it worked out fine. Soryong was hopeful that the little feast would help lessen the bees' wariness to them. It would be even better if they start recognizing Soryong as their master. Our MC suddenly shouted that he forgot something. Cheol-san and Museong looked at him with suspicious eyes and asked what it was. Soryong nervously asked about Hwayun. Cheol-san was a little pissed off that he just thought of her after everything. Cheol-san replied that he told the other members to take Hwayun to her mother and let her rest. Cheol-san asked if they really use mobility arts all the way from the forest to the house with those bees in tow. Soryong nervously replied yes and asked for forgiveness. Soryong shared that they barely managed 4 hours of sleep a day, and the rest of the time was spent running. Suddenly, Museong realized something. He asked Soryong where the members of the Venom Blood unit were. Beads of sweat formed in Soryong's head as he nervously replied that the members had collapsed somewhere on the roadside. He told them that he'll go pick them up. Eventually, the members of the Venom Blood unit returned safely to their families. In Hwayun's room. She's awake and energetic enough to be able to sit down now. Soryong was by her side. Hwayun happily brought up the topic that the golden-haired bees have recovered their strength. Soryong shared that the golden-haired bees are currently gathering nectar from the poisonous flowers of Tangclan Mountain. Hwayun replied that it's adorable. Suddenly, someone barged in calling for Soryong in panic. Pei told him that he needs to come outside at once. He informed Soryong that there's something wrong with the golden-haired bees. It's like they're searching for something. Soryong and Hwayun went out. The bees were scattered all over the area. Until they spotted Soryong, they clung onto him. Suddenly, they're pulling his shirt. Soryong was confused as to why they're acting like that. Because of the pulling, he was lifted off the ground. Huawen was surprised to see Soryong being flown by the swarm of bees. Soryong looked funny in the air with his legs straight and arms spread, creating a T. Eventually, the bees dropped him. Soryong asked them why they're fussing in their hive. He thought that something's wrong. The bees pushed him, and Soryong got the message. They want him inside. He looked around and saw that they've already built part of the hive and they're working hard to gather honey. Then he noticed a bee approaching. It was the queen bee. Soryong put his palms out and asked the queen bee if she wanted a lift. Now, Soryong can't move since the other bees clung onto him. A bee was pinching his cheeks too. He looked at the queen bee and she looked elegant and cute. The author really put a lot of work here. Dang! Then the queen bee closes her eyes and approaches Soryong's mouth. Soryong panicked, but he was shut up because the queen bee kissed him on the lips. He felt that something was placed on his mouth, and then he swallowed it. The other bees stopped clinging onto him. The queen bee was done kissing him. Soryong was red as a tomato. He was embarrassed, and he yelled at the queen bee that it was his first. He asked what she was even doing. Then Soryong felt bad. He collapsed on the ground. He was in excruciating pain. In his mind, he asked what the queen bee fed him, and from his perspective, the queen bee had this mysterious look on her face. Soryong felt the excruciating pain while the bees just watched him. His mouth has foamed. Behind the strange discomfort that felt like tickling, the sensation that overtook his whole body was intense heat. Soryong's face was red, his snot and saliva dripped. He's also experiencing tachycardia, a high pulse rate. He groaned in pain. The queen bee approached his face and he glared at her. He wondered what the queen bee made him eat. Soryong was groggy, but he heard Hwayun and Museong. Museong had a theory that Soryong swallowed a very potent elixir. Hwayun told him to pull himself together. Museong decided to guide his kwai. Eventually, Hwayun saw him waking up. She asked if he's back to his senses. Soryong asked where he was. Hwayun replied that he's at the medical hall of the Tang clan. She shared that when they saw him being dragged away by the golden-haired bees, she and her grandfather rushed over, and by the time they got there, he had already collapsed, so they brought him there. She asked him if he remembers what happened. Then Soryong dropped his face into his palms as he remembered his first kiss in that world. Hwayun got worried. She asked if something was wrong in his body. She wondered if she should call her grandfather. Soryong replied no. He took a deep breath. Then he explained that the queen bee fed him the same food she ate, and that's what probably caused his condition. Hwayun asked what he ate, but Soryong wasn't sure of the exact name, but if he had to call it, he would name it King Bee Elixir. Hwayun was intrigued. Soryong explained that the worker bees gather nectar and pollen for their sustenance, and only the worker bees who dedicate their lives to labor consume that nectar and pollen. Hwayun asked what the queen bee eats. Soryong stated that from the moment the queen bee is born until it dies, the queen bee feeds exclusively on the king bee elixir made by the worker bees. In other words, the jelly that the queen bee forcefully fed Soryong was the royal jelly. Hwayun understood that it's an exclusive food that the queen bee ate for her entire life. Soryong added that the king bee elixir has a special effect, that an ordinary worker bees live a short life of about half in a month, but the queen bee, eating the king bee elixir, can sometimes live up to 60 times longer. Soryong was amused. His enthusiasm overwhelmed Hwayun, so she told him to calm down. Then Hwayun concluded that the mystery was solved. The internal cultivation method that Soryong practiced is the 5 poisons returning technique. It's just a novice technique, so he couldn't absorb the full power of elixir. But considering that golden-haired king bee honey is said to contain 2 months' worth of internal energy, Soryong has essentially absorbed 60 times that amount, and that would be 10 years' worth of internal energy. She congratulated him on this lucky encounter. Soryong couldn't believe it. Our boy just got 10 years' worth of internal energy in one French kiss. Then Hwayun was hesitant to say something. She blushed when she told him to look at the silver mirror later. She pointed out that there could be other effects from the king bee elixir. Soryong wondered. Then he asked what the silver mirror is. Our MC's new transformation was finally revealed. He became more manly. Soryong watched his reflection on the water and expressed that something was strange. He wondered if the royal jelly always has those kinds of effects. He looked handsome now that he questioned where that country bumpkin from Hainan went. His cultivation has improved, and his skin is so soft and smooth. It's almost like a woman's skin. He poked his flushed cheeks. Then he thought about the royal jelly eaten by the queen bee and saw himself becoming a woman. He was terrified of that idea. He looked down to check his bird and checked beneath his pants. He was relieved to find his manhood where it's supposed to be. He thought of thanking Mu Seong because it was him who guided his ki. Otherwise, it would have been disastrous. He realized he was on the verge of death, but Mu Seong saved him. Moments later, he walked around the streets and people were blatantly staring at him. He felt the unfamiliar gazes, and he wondered if it was because his internal energy has increased. He decided to run away. The girls who watched him giggled. At the Sichuan Tang clan restaurant house, Soryong opened the door. The family was already at the dining table, and delicious food was being served. His mother-in-law noticed him. She commented on how more handsome Soryong looks. She asked him how he's feeling. Soryong replied that he's feeling better, and he apologized for making them worry. She replied that it's all right, and pointed out the fortunate encounter that he had that's worth celebrating. She praised Soryong's complexion and teased Hwayan for being envious. Hwayan blushed while Soryong was nervous. Hwayan invited Soryong to hurry up and take a seat, and that made her mother tease her even more. They started their meal with tea. Cheolson asked Soryong if he's feeling better. Soryong replied that he is, and he apologized for causing him to worry. Then, Soryong expressed his gratitude to grandfather who took care of him. Mu Seong brought up Soryong's lucky encounter and congratulated him. Then Cheolson asked him to explain. They heard a bit about the King Bee elixir, but they wanted to know what exactly happened. Soryong was hesitant. Then he shared how it seems that the golden-haired queen bee took a liking to her new home and decided to repay him for his kindness. So, she dragged him into their hive and fed him the King Bee elixir. He summarized that the whole commotion stemmed from that. Their jaws dropped. Mu Seong couldn't believe that even mid-level venomous creatures know how to show gratitude. Soryong's mother-in-law was fascinated. Mu Seong asked if there's any way to acquire the King Bee elixir again. If they can, it would greatly benefit the Tang clan. Cheolson replied that even the golden-haired King Bee's honey alone would be an incredible asset. But the King Bee elixir would undoubtedly be an extraordinary boon. Mother-in-law was also passionate about obtaining the King Bee elixir. She asked Soryong if he could obtain more. I bet because it improved his skin. Her enthusiasm made the whole crowd go silent. Mother-in-law cleared her throat. Hwayoon spoke and asked Soryong if it's possible. Soryong thought about it. He knew that if those were ordinary bees, they could create multiple queen cells, the chamber for the queen bees, and trick the worker bees into producing royal jelly. But if they tried to pull such a trick on the intelligent golden-haired bees, they would be all turned into beehives in an instant. In the first place, royal jelly is essentially baby food produced by worker bees, but what was fed to Soryong came from the queen bee herself, so it made Soryong think that what he ate isn't the same substance. He wondered if he should be honest with them. He told them what he thinks, that it might not be possible. Mu Seong asked why. Again, mother-in-law, with all seriousness and enthusiasm, asked why it can't be done. Soryong explained that even if someone could eat it, he doubted that anyone would eat it. Cheolson asked what he meant. He wondered if it's because it tastes bad, or if it has a strange smell. Soryong replied that it's not about the taste or the smell. He revealed that the King Bee elixir comes directly from the queen bee's mouth, and it seems that the only way to receive it is through direct contact with the queen bee herself. The method involves forming a bond by pressing their lips together, with the queen bee's tongue entering the recipient's mouth to transfer the elixir. Their jaws dropped upon hearing that. Mu Seong turned pale upon realizing that it is done through lip-to-lie with the queen bee. Mother-in-law was horrified that it even includes tongue. Even Cheolson sweat profusely. He concluded that it can't be obtained. He added that unless it's Soryong, whom the golden-haired queen bee has favored, it's impossible for anyone else. They heard chopsticks dropping. Hwayoon uttered, "A lip-to-lip?" Soryong became nervous. "Boy, you're in trouble now. Press F in the comment section below for Soryong's soul." Hwayoon looked at him with disgusted and angry expression, then pointed out that Soryong had kissed the golden-haired queen bee. Meanwhile, in another setting, it was a serene evening. The moon was reflected on the river. A man watches this scenery. His name is Ju Jung-hak, aka Fist Emperor, the leader of the Murim Alliance. Someone knocked at the door to bring him tea. He invited the person to come in. The goddamn beautiful woman brought the teapot inside. Then she stated that she prepared white dew of the Sishan mountain, and that got the attention of Jung-hak. Jung-hak replied that it's a tea from his hometown. The woman agreed since it's a famous tea from Shishan Mountain of Nanchang. Junghak thanked her and stated that he'll savor it. The woman watches him drink. She watches intently as he brings the cup to his lips. But they were interrupted when the alliance leader was informed of General Jegelhu's arrival. Junghak asked what brought the man at that hour. He invited him in. General Hu apologized for interrupting the alliance leader's rest. Then General Hu stated that they received a message from the Sichuan Tang clan, and he thought it necessary to inform the alliance leader immediately. Junghak acknowledged that since the man came with such urgency, it must have been significant. He told the man to speak. The woman excused herself. Then General Hu informed the alliance leader that it concerns the blood hand Rakshasa, Tak Unyang. He stated that the Tang clan has retrieved both his head and the secret manual of the blood hand poison art. Junghak was furious that he shattered the glass in his bare hands. He asked how they were able to retrieve the horrifying manual. General Hu explained that years ago, Tak Unyang vanished after being struck by the myriad poison's divine sovereign's palm. Later, he seems to have drifted to Hainan Island and lived in seclusion there. General Hu shared that there's an even more interesting story, that the infamous demon, Tak Unyang, was defeated by a young poison master. That caught Junghak's interest. General Hu continued to share that the tale surrounding the event is rather amusing. He's certain that the alliance leader will find it intriguing. He wanted to explain in detail, but the woman appeared behind him, and he felt her threatening aura. I think this guy just interrupted something important, and this kind of art style is so familiar, but I can't give you the sauce of that manhwa. Anyway, at the Sichuan Tang clan patriarch's hall, the elder informed the patriarch that there are those people bold enough to sell the information that they acquired from other places. They were furious that there are people that exist to sully the Tang clan's reputation. Soryang whispered to Huayan, saying that those elders do not speak harshly to his father-in-law. Huayan replied, "Of course not, because in the end, they are all family." Huayan expressed how no one would dare to damage the honor of the family. Even the elders of the collateral branches are furious about it. The patriarch shared how they already requested the beggar sect to ascertain their identities, so they should hear back soon. He planned to personally visit the Yingchuan commandery. The elder inquired how the patriarch plans to handle it. Cheolsan replied that he'll start with the soul-annihilating poison, blood-flaming poison, and intestine-disabling poison. Then he described that once they are writing in agony, blood-burning, organs dissolving, and feeling as if their very soul is being shredded, he'll finish them with the 7-step soul-severing poison. Soryang was horrified by the cocktail of poisons. Cheolsan ordered to summon the annihilation unit immediately, and he'll leave at once. Everyone gathered outside the hall. Cheolsan told his son-in-law that he'll be off, and Soryang is in charge of things while he is gone. Soryang wished him to be safe. Cheolsan replied that he had nothing to be careful of. Instead, it's those people who should be worried. He left with the squad with the intention to make those people's punishment unforgettable. Soryang asked Huayun if those men were the poison annihilation unit. He hasn't seen them before. Huayun simply replied that those men were assigned to handle slightly rough work. Their primary responsibility is eliminating people, that's why they are called the poison annihilation unit. In his head, Soryang thought that slightly rough is a bit of an understatement. Someone cleared their throat behind those two. It was the elder. Soryang greeted them politely. They brought up the topic of Soryang's lucky encounter. Soryang replied yes. In his head, he wondered if they were referring to the royal jelly from the golden-haired bees. The elder stated that the reason they summoned him is to request a small favor. Soryang inquired of what sort of favor that might be. He asked if it has something to do with the golden-haired bees, but they immediately replied no. They won't dare to covet such things. They believe that miraculous elixirs and rare treasures find their destined owners naturally. So Soryang asked what they needed. The elders were flustered. They chose to whisper it in Soryang's ear. Then these old men brought up the ground beetle medicine. They believe that since Soryang made it, he has authority over it. Soryang grinned. He knew that they needed it. Soryang replied that he had been finding it difficult to adjust to life in the Tang clan. However, if the esteemed elders are willing to assist him in various ways, there's no reason for him not to share it. The elders were happy. They praised Soryang for having a good head on his shoulders, and they promised that from then on, they will support him so he has nothing to worry and just live comfortably. Huayan was dumbfounded on how things turned out. Museong saw them too. He got curious, so he inquired what the cheerful conversation was all about. The elders simply replied that it's just a friendly bonding moment with the son-in-law. Soryang agreed with them. Museong was proud that the elders had finally come to appreciate Soryang's true value. They replied that it was just a natural thing to do. Suddenly, Pai reported that they have a major problem. Museong asked what it was. He stated that the lord of the Sichuan province is at death's door. They were all shocked, especially Soryong. He asked if the lord didn't follow the prescribed dosage properly. Pei replied that it's the problem. He explained that after experiencing the effects of the medicine, the lord took on a new concubine and began consuming more than twice the recommended amount. Soryong knew that it was bad that it made him sweat profusely. Museong stated that he must leave at once. Then he told Soryong, who was left the only man at the house, to protect the women. Soryong replied yes. Museong hurriedly made his way. In Soryong's head, he thought that there's nothing else that could possibly go wrong. The nighttime came. Hwaeun asked Soryong what he thinks of the 10 poisons dual origin art that he has been learning. He replied that it's not as difficult to understand as it was in the beginning. He compared it in his head that if the 5 venoms returning technique feels like a single large orb moving within the body, the 10 poisons dual original art is more like a twin cylinder. Hwaeun told him that by now, he likely developed some resistance to common poisons as well. Additionally, he should be able to directly release his Chewy or even imbue objects with it. Soryong was surprised, and he confirmed if that's really true. Soryong decided to give it a try. He focused on the dummy before him. He closed his eyes and concentrated, and he channeled the internal energy from left to right and rotate the 2 orbs in the same direction. The changes on our MC were now clearer, and when Qi fully circulates through his body, he released it. He threw the dagger, and when it reached the dummy, it exploded more than half of it. Soryong exclaimed that he finally succeeded. Hwaeun praised him for that incredible move. He managed to imbue the dagger with his Qi perfectly. The ninja-like men were shocked. They wondered if they had been noticed, which made them ponder if they should just eliminate them. But one of them argues that it's just a coincidence. They secured a copy of the Blood Hand Poison Art secret manual, so their work is done. They decided to leave the place quickly and return to the main sect before any troublesome matters arose. One of the ninjas laughed at those fools for having lax security in the training hall, and it was thanks to that carelessness that escaping will be a breeze. But they noticed something. It's the sweet scent lingering in the air. A bee had spotted them, and its eyes really meant trouble. Suddenly, one of the ninjas screamed loudly. Soryong is alarmed at what that is. Hwaeun stated that it seems like an intruder. The ninjas came out of the bush since they're being attacked by the bees. Hwaeun immediately made her move while instructing Soryong to fire an arrow. The ninjas were to retreat, but a bee stuck to one of them. Hwaeun tried to stop them. She took out her whip and hit them all, but she was surprised that they all dodged her whip. The one with the bee stuck on him charged at Hwaeun and told her to die. Soryong screamed for her to be careful. The ninja swung his sword, but Hwaeun was able to deflect it using her whip. Then she hit them back, and the man was hurt. He fell on the ground. Soryong asked her if she's all right. She replied yes. Then Soryong was disturbed when he saw the man turning into black and dissipating slowly. He asked who that person was, and if he's dead. Hwaeun observed the man. She knew that he bit down on poison and killed himself. From that, she deduced that he had something that he wanted to hide. The Tang clan were disturbed by the intruders. Hwaeun decided to organize a pursuit team immediately to begin the chase. She told Soryong to follow her along with Pei, the Venom Blood unit leader. They yelled to catch the intruders. Soryong was part of that team. Pei told them that the intruders must have not gotten far, and they must capture them at all costs. Soryong internally cheered for his twin-cylinder engine. Eventually, his foot landed on a soft soil. Pei was surprised that half of Soryong's body is deep inside the ground. They helped him up while asking if he's okay. He sensed something. He was horrified to see that the pit was a snake den. Pei stated that it's a snake nest. Snakes often gather where yin-chi is strong. Particularly for that season, they're unusually aggressive. Soryong was horrified. He finds it odd, though, since tiger-striped water snakes aren't typically hostile. Soryong stated that it's his fault that they are delayed, and it looked like it was going to rain, so they had to move quickly. They followed his instruction, and they ran again. They caught a glimpse of the men and yelled to catch them. The ninjas were in a pinch. They were cornered, and it started raining. Pei told those men that their escape ended there. He instructed his unit to tighten the encirclement. Both sides got ready to fight. Eventually, they attacked. It was an intense fight under the rain. The Tang clan fought with swords while the intruders used their daggers. They kicked Pei and told him to get out of the way. but one of them was caught off guard. Pai strikes back. He used the triple mirage skill. The ninja barely deflected a single dagger, but now there's 3 more coming his way. He got flexible in dodging it, but one struck the ninja at the shoulder. Pai told him he's a lucky bastard. Then he told the guy to consider himself lucky that the rain diluted the poison on his throwing dagger. Pai looked stern. Suddenly, along with the loud thunder and lightning, someone yelled, "So many of you pitiful insects have gathered." Pai asked, who the hell was it? A man appeared. It jumped from the cliff, and the impact on coming down shattered the ground. He looked creepy. Pai recognized that the guy is a martial master. He instructed everyone to fall back. The man emits an ominous aura. Then he asked the ninja if they were able to retrieve it. The ninja replied yes and explained that it was not the original, but a copy recorded by the Tang clan. Soryang had finished tying up the unconscious ninja when he saw the familiar item. He recalled that it's the copy of that bad book that Museong was reading last time. He immediately informs Pai that it's a copy of the Blood Hand Poison Art Secret Manual. Pai was surprised to hear that. That made him furious. He asked them what kind of people would dare to covet something so sinister. He demanded that they reveal their identity. The man scanned the book and, as expected since it's a copy, it contains the technique's forms, but lacks the critical formulas. But that will suffice. And the man stated that though it's a little premature, there's no better way to herald their return. He granted Blood Glory permission to unleash the martial arts of the cult, and his mission was to leave no one alive. Blood Glory followed the command. He placed his hand above the ninja that died, and took his blood. This is just like absorbing his remaining life force. Soryang felt alarmed upon seeing it. Pai recognized that technique. They watched the man suck up blood through his hand. The old man told Pai that they guessed right. He is none other than a blood cult elder. He is known as the Bloodhawk Dagger Claw, Lord Gu Cheonak. He saw Soryang and commented that the kid is in a good shape, which is excellent. He shared that it's been far too long since he savored the untainted blood of the young. Lord Gu Cheonak instructed Hyeolyang to capture them, since there's nothing better for recovery than a young boy's pure blood. They chased after them. Pai ordered the unleashing of the 5 poison annihilation formation. They were determined not to let those men reach Soryang. Lord Gu laughed at them and released an attack to challenge them. It was a powerful explosion. Debris flew everywhere. Soryang was told to try and evade it. Suddenly, someone grabbed Soryang from behind and choked him. Hyeolyang placed his hand around Soryang's neck to immobilize him. He told Soryang to stay put since the elder wishes to take his pure blood. Soryang is losing oxygen. He uttered, "Guys." Then he instructed them to bite. The baby centipedes came out and bit Hyeolyang. Hyeolyang was surprised to see them. The baby centipedes bit him as hard as they could. Hyeolyang couldn't believe it, but he wasn't given enough time to compose himself because a dagger was lodged in his skull, and then his body was engulfed in flames. Someone called out, "Soryang." It was the best waifu, Hwayun, followed by Wolgang and an elder. They stopped in their tracks because of shock. They noticed the 5 poison annihilation formation, and it made them wonder what's going on. Pai acknowledged Hwayun's presence. Then he informs her that a blood cult elder has launched an attack. Immediately, Hwayun instructed everyone to assist Pai. Wolgang acknowledged her orders and instructed everyone that they will transform the 5 poison annihilation formation into the 9 poison annihilation formation. They surrounded the blood cult elder. Lord Gu was amused. He realized that Soryang is the boy who took down Takunyang's Blood Hand Poison Claw. He uttered that Blood Hand Poison Claw is just an overrated name after all. He didn't imagine for it to be bitten to death by none other than centipedes. Wolgang told him to shut up and threatened him to be buried there as well. Lord Gu laughed it off. He dared them to try it if they could. He had this maniac expression, as if he was even excited. The rain started pouring while explosions could be seen left and right. Soryang was tending to the injured warrior. He encouraged him to hold on a little longer, but deep inside he knew the situation wasn't looking good. Their side is getting more and more exhausted. But that damn blood cult bastard just sucks up blood and replenishes. Soryang heard a loud noise. It was Hwayun crashing on a tree. Hwayun was in pain. Soryang rushed to her side and asked her if she's fine. She coughed up blood and still replied that she's fine. She grasped his hand and advised him to return to the clan and bring more of the Tang clan family warriors because they are not enough on their own. It was a tough choice for Soryang. He knew it was true that there's nothing he could do in the fight. Wolfgang and the rest begged him to do that, for the Tang family. They promised him that they will hold them off somehow, so he should hurry and go. Soryong contemplated it. With a pained expression, he responded that he'll return as quickly as possible. He doubted if he's going to make it since his mobility arts is lacking. But he was interrupted when Hwayun hugged him and assured him that it will be all right. She told him that he can do it since he has been training hard all this time. She promised that they'll go look for more poisons together next time. She expressed that she's counting on him. Then Hwayun ran back to the battlefield. Soryong looked sad as he expressed how the situation is driving him crazy. Soryong started running. He ran as fast as he could, but he tripped and fell on a puddle. The baby centipedes came out and comforted him. Soryong finds it strange. He realized that even if he uses his mobility arts at full speed, it would take nearly half a day. And most of the clan's experts are away, so even if he calls for reinforcements, they won't make it in time. He looked at the sky. Then he realized that they sent him away just to save him. He wondered why. He contemplated if it's because the youngest, or because he's weak that needs to be protected. It made him think if this is what chivalry of martial artists really means. Then he remembered what Cheol-san said, that he's a part of the family. Soryong never really thought deeply about the word family before. He uttered that in the end, he must have still believed that he wasn't truly a part of the Sichuan Tang clan. Then he recalled some precious memories with them, and he realized that everyone else already considered him as their family. Everyone, except him. It made him smile. Then he commented that for an assassin clan, it's a bit too warm-hearted. He got up, and this time, he was determined. He even uttered, "Let's go. We gotta save your mom." He ran as fast as he could, driven by his desire to save those people. He kept thinking of a way, and the factors of the fight such as blood cult, blood regeneration, venomous creatures nearby, poisonous beasts, poisonous herbs. He stopped on his tracks. Because he reached a snake den, he saw the creepy snakes. He told the centipedes to wait for him. Then he placed them on the ground. Then Soryong ran away. The baby centipedes were confused as to what he's doing. Soryong jumped on the snake den. Then he remembered that he is Spicy Fabre. He uttered, "I gotta handle this Spicy Fabre way." The red-necked keelback, also known as the flower snake, is a species of a venomous snake, and now we see our boy allowing these ones to munch over him. At the same time, a strange green aura started to gather around Soryong. Unlike vipers, which have hooked fangs at the front of their mouths, that snake has small venomous fangs located in the molar region, making venom injection difficult. But still, Soryong knew the bite packs a punch. In terms of toxicity, it is the most venomous land snake in East Asia. To describe it better, its venom surpasses the black mamba. However, with the Tang clan's internal energy technique, Soryong knew that he's resistant to poisons, so he should be fine. The baby centipedes peeked worriedly at the edge of the cliff. Soryong assured them that he's fine even when he's covered with snakes. He's about to go out anyway. He checked his body. There were several bite marks on his body, and it was enough for him. A snake slithered on his neck while he decided to get out of the pit. But then he felt something. The snake slithered on his legs, immobilizing him. He didn't expect that. He cursed upon realizing that something unexpected just happened. He was in a pinch. Suddenly, the baby centipedes jumped to his shoulders and head, and one of them made a loud noise to drive the snakes away. The snakes hissed back. It made the baby centipedes more annoyed, so one of the baby centipedes who had enough of these ugly snakes attacked and bit it near the head. This is turning into a Pokemon battle. Grace, the baby centipede, was in rage, and it kept attacking the surrounding snakes. She gained dominance, and the snake felt helpless. Soryong thanked her and was impressed how their youngest is so tough. Soryong pats her head and recognizes how Grace is worried for her dad. With that, Soryong thanked her again. With a confident look on his face, he said, "All right, it's time to go to Mom." Meanwhile, thick Mommy Hwayun could already be seen panting. She knew that at that rate, they're all gonna die. Even if they have the number advantage, they are slowly being overpowered. Gu choked one warrior. He was in a frenzy since his enemies were too easy. He challenged if there's no one left to take his next move. Hwayun hoped that Soryong managed to escape safely. Hwayun instructed them to keep Gu in check from as far away as possible. She had observed that the rain would clear soon, so they planned to send another signal to the nearby warriors. Wolfgang acknowledged her orders. The elder suggested that Hwayun should escape like Soryong. Hwayun refused to do that. She couldn't fathom that a direct descendant of the Tang clan fled while others were still fighting. The elder argued that if he can't protect her, he could never face the head of the family again. He urged her to go quickly. Hwaeun insists that he stop the nonsense because the Tang clan never abandons its own no matter what, and that irked Gu. Gu got annoyed watching them and yelled at them to stop. If his toys kept running away, it would ruin his fun. So he had an idea. If he can't quell his rage at this point, turning the Tang clan into a wasteland would be amusing for him. And he envisioned how it suits the announcement of the return of the blood sect. It would be such a grand display. The elder cursed when he realized that Gu had no intention of letting any of them leave alive. Hwaeun prepared her whip, and with determination she uttered that even if they all perish there, she will make sure to take at least one of Gu's arms. The others shared her will. They watched each other as the tension built up. Suddenly, someone uttered, just as Lady Hwaeun said, that the Tang clan never retreats and never abandons its own. Hwaeun was surprised that her beloved Soryong came back. She was confused and worried as to why he's back. Soryong reminded her what she said earlier, the Tang clan never abandons its own. He put down the baby centipedes and told them to wait. Soryong removed his shirt and stated that he's also part of the Tang clan. Our boy gripped his dagger and assumed a combat stance. Gu was amused as he watched Soryong charge at him. Meanwhile, Hwaeun was worried. Gu laughed at the thought of how he went through all the trouble of sparing Soryong, and now he's crawling back on his own. Soryong was in position to stab Gu. He screamed at the top of his lungs. Hwaeun was anxious. The dagger flew in the air. The next moment we knew that Gu choked Soryong. He concentrated his skill on his palm as he prepared to attack Soryong. He was happy to take the lifeblood that Soryong willingly offered to him. He hit Soryong with his palm while anticipating to have a taste of his blood. Soryong groaned loudly. Gu was amused that Soryong reacted in a split second and blocked it with his arm. He called Soryong a fool. He thought Soryong had done it out of instinct and didn't realize that blood still flows through his arm. He gripped Soryong tighter. Soryong groaned loudly as his blood spilled. Hwaeun panicked. Pei was ordered to save Soryong. The screaming continues. They all rushed to rescue our MC. Gu was elated with the delicious taste, especially when it has been so long since he had tasted the lifeblood of a boy. The warriors ran as fast as they could, but Gu blocked them by using blood circulation overflowing wave. They were all blasted away. Gu laughed at them. He expressed that those pesky throwing weapons flying around like flies were starting to get annoying, but thanks to that little brat, Soryong, it has been all dealt with in one go. Hwaeun tapped Soryong and willed him to stay conscious. Hwaeun hugged Soryong's body, who is laying on the ground while Gu approaches them, and stated that he will make sure that their death is painless. Unexpectedly, someone coughed. Soryong opened his eyes. Gu cursed at him while his mouth was frothing. He asked him what he just did. Suddenly, Gu lost all his hair and his cheeks looked hollow. He realized that it was an internal energy-dissipating poison. But he thought it was impossible since the cult's internal energy techniques should have rendered it ineffective. Gu turned really ugly. He panicked and spouted curses at Soryong. He screamed, "This can't be happening! What the hell are you?" Soryong got up, grinned, and uttered, "What am I, you ask?" Then Soryong announced, "I am your natural enemy." He was confused when Soryong said that. Soryong nodded at Hwaeun. Gu wondered what just happened to him. Ever since he let that brat's blood flow through him, the blood no longer obeys his will. The blood cult's domination of the world was right in his grasp, so he refused to collapse there. Ironically, just as he said that, he slipped. He yelled for them to die. Hwaeun prepared her whip. Then she attacked him. She was able to wrap the whip in his head. That actually surprised her. That her attack landed. That the ghost-like monster of a dark martial artist couldn't dodge her attack. Gu was furious. He stated that even if he grinds that brat's bones and drinks them, it wouldn't be enough. He asked Soryong what he did with his art. He yelled to kill them all and announced the return of the blood cult. Hwaeun told him to shut up and just die. She moved her whip, cutting Gu's head from the body. Pei was shocked when the head landed near him. Then, he claimed their victory. He announced that the young lady had severed the blood cult's elder's head. They all celebrated. While Hwaeun was confused as to what happened, she asked Soryong about it. Soryong called Hwaeun Big Sister, so that it caught her off guard. At this point, Soryong looked sick. He managed to explain that he needs to be bitten by tiger-striped water snakes to treat the poison. Hwaeun was shocked to hear that, because she knew that tiger-striped water snakes don't have any poison. She asked someone for an antidote because it looked like Soryong had been poisoned by the tiger-striped water snakes. Soryong lost consciousness and they panicked. Few days later, our boy woke up with a drool dripping from his mouth. Museong was by his side and told him that he shouldn't move yet. Hwaeun told him that too. Our MC asked what's happening. He's lying on his stomach while Museong heals him. Hwa-yun expressed her relief that Soryong finally regained consciousness. Museong informed him that it has already been 10 days since he collapsed. Soryong was surprised to hear that. Hwa-yun told him that thanks to him, she was able to sever that bastard's head, and they rushed his collapsed body back to the clan. She explained that the poisoning was so severe that if Museong hadn't come back early, it would have been a disaster. Soryong was dumbfounded as he realized that he almost died twice from snake bites. Museong had finished healing him. Now that he has regained consciousness, he should be fine. Soryong thanked him. Museong had brought up an important topic. He was curious if tiger-striped water snakes really have venom, and he also asked how Soryong defeated the blood cult leader. His excitement made him shake Soryong back and forth, and it made Soryong cough. Soryong answered that tiger-striped water snakes are venomous and actually have two kinds of venom. One is in the inside of its mouth, and the other comes from venom glands at the back of its neck. Museong and Hwa-yun didn't know about it, and Soryong explained because the snakes were so timid and they usually run away when they see humans, and their fangs are so small too. In fact, it wasn't until the 1980s that people realized tiger-striped water snakes were venomous. Museong inquired if the dissipating of the blood cult elders' internal energy had something to do with that. Blood cult were known for being immune to poisons like dispersing toxins. Soryong stated that it was just his hypothesis, but he believes that it is likely due to the venom of the tiger-striped water snakes. The venom of tiger-striped water snakes has a main component called hemotoxin, which is a hemorrhagic toxin. Hemorrhagic toxins can destroy the various structures inside the body, including the cell walls of red blood cells, and the inner lining of blood vessels and other tissue cells. So, what would happen if a hemorrhagic toxin is given to the blood cultists, who are like vampires relying on blood for their martial arts? That's why Soryong's idea worked perfectly. It likely disrupted the blood that serves as the source of the martial arts, leading to the defeat of the blood cult elder. Soryong added that tiger-striped water snakes being venomous wasn't widely known, but its venom is 5 times stronger than that of a viper. And if their venom were amplified by yin-chi, Museong couldn't believe that a powerful venomous creature existed near Sichuan. Hwa-yun was impressed that Soryong achieved such great feat. Museong remembered that Hwa-yun told him something, that the blood cult elder called Soryong the heaven's nemesis and his natural enemy. He had a goofy expression as if he's teasing Soryong. Soryong felt cringe upon hearing that. It was like a middle school delusion to him. Soryong blushed and covered half of his face with a blanket. Museong laughed out loud, and he stated that it isn't bad since if Soryong could seal the elder's martial arts so perfectly, it's fitting to be called a natural enemy. Museong genuinely thanked him for protecting his family. Museong was angry that they dared attack his family while he was away. He vowed that this time he'll rip them out by the roots once and for all. Soryong passionately agreed that they must crush them completely. Now that they know their weakness, all that's left is to collect large quantities of the tiger-striped water snakes. Soryong was also angry at those damned mosquito bastards. He vowed to strip them down to their very souls. Ever since the blood cult appeared, the Tang clan has been in a state of emergency. Many of the Tang clan's warriors have been injured, and some have even died. Because of this, allied Orthodox Murim factions are gathering at the Tang clan to lend their assistance. Museong uttered that, considering they faced someone at the pinnacle of martial arts, the casualties were minimal. But he also expressed that he thinks that blood will flow again in Murim, because the blood cult fills him with deep concern. Those damn mosquito bastards. It wasn't enough that they randomly abduct people to drain their blood, but 30 years ago, they also committed mass slaughter, becoming the Murim's sworn enemy as a cult. It's truly a serious matter. But Museong believed that this time things will be a little different. That's because their Sichuan Tang clan is their heaven-ordained nemesis, a natural enemy. Soryong was red as a tomato with embarrassment. It made him wonder if Museong is saying it on purpose. Museong grinned at him. Then he told Soryong that he had a request for him, and asked if he could do it. Soryong didn't hesitate to reply yes, and promised to give his all. Museong informed him that soon, people from the Murim Alliance will arrive there. The Murim Alliance's military forces will surely be among those arriving, and Museong planned to showcase to them the venom Soryong discovered. And since they finally uncovered the blood cult's weakness, he wants to share it with everyone. Soryong replied that if it's for the greater good, Museong should definitely do that. Museong was glad that Soryong said that. Then he told him that he has some news that will make him happy. Soryong asked what it was. Museong told him that the modifications to the Hall of 10,000 Poisons are complete. From then on, he will officially be in charge of managing the Hall of 10,000 Poisons. That made Soryong excited. Soryong was so happy that he could imagine himself spending quality time with the venomous animals. And as Soryong suggested, they also prepared a skylit pavilion. After all, to properly raise tiger-striped water snakes, they need a solid foundation first. Soryong was giddy as he thanked Museong. Museong told him to think that it's for the sake of Murim, so he should do his best. Soryong replied that he understands. Soryong was so amazed. Him and Hwayun were walking towards the pavilion. There was a sign saying, "Toxic Creature Garden." Hwayun read it out loud, and Soryong informed her that it means a backyard where all the venomous creatures of the Central Plains are gathered. Hwayun confirmed with him if he's truly gathering all venomous creatures. Soryong replied yes and shared that someday he will even gather the 10 great venomous creatures of the Central Plain. And that's his promise to Hwayun. Hwayun replied that she will cheer him on, but then she caught herself saying that and blushed. Out of embarrassment, she ran towards where the people were gathered and told Soryong that they have to check it out. Someone noticed that they had arrived. It was the vice leader, Pai. He is now the commander of the Poison Division, so he's there. Soryong asked about the Poison Division. Pai explained that it's a newly established unit under the orders of the Patriarch, and from then on, those people behind Pai will serve as Soryong's hands and feet. Pai told Soryong that whether it's finding venomous creatures or raising them, Soryong can count on them. That made Soryong flushed and drool. In his head, he described Pai as a pet shop staff. He felt the all-out support. It was a moment when Soryong's dream took one step closer to reality. Meanwhile, the messenger bird that Museong sent had arrived to its recipient. A woman read the letter. She read that the blood cult has returned, back in the once peaceful Central Plains. And now a bloody storm is about to rage again. The next thing we knew is that several people were walking in the forest. An old man talked to the general and informed him that they will be arriving soon. They will finally get to stay at the Tang Clan Manor. The general expressed his relief that they will no longer sleep outdoors. And, in this general's head, he thought that it would be nice if they could return with at least one piece of good news. He's content with just a slightest trace of the blood cult. The old man announced that the Tang Clan Manor is finally in sight. The guard noticed them and asked if they were guests from the Murim Alliance. The general replied yes and introduced himself as Jaegal Hu, a general of the Murim Alliance. The guard thanked them for gracing them with their esteemed presence. He politely told them to wait for a moment, and the guard nervously informed them that there are few things they must be mindful of before entering the Tang Clan Manor. The general was surprised. The old man asked if they are required to surrender their weapons upon entry. The guard told them that it may come unexpectedly, but asked for their patience to listen. The guard told them that no matter how small or insignificant a creature may seem, they must not take a life within the Tang Clan. That shocked Jaegal, so he inquired if the Tang Clan converted to Buddhism. The guard explains that they will understand once they enter. He reminded them that there are no exceptions. Hu and his men were skeptical. Someone greeted the general. It was Soryong and Hwayun. They politely greeted each other. The general brought up that it has been a while since he saw Hwayun. Hwayun replied that it's exactly 1 year since they met at the Alliance. Then Hu asked where the Myriad Poison's divine sovereign was. Hwayun informed him that her grandfather is currently away, searching for traces of the blood cult. She apologized for the inconvenience. Hu replied that it's not a problem at all, and being welcomed by one of the 3 flowers of Murim is hardly an inconvenience. Then Hu asked about the warrior beside Hwayun. Soryong greeted the general, and introduced himself as Wei Soryong. That made Hu and the old man look at each other in confusion. Then Hu asked if it's really Wei and not Tang. Hwayun blushed as she replied that Soryong is her betrothed. Their surprise was quite intense as they heard that he is her lover. Hu's men cried as they expressed their jealousy, and that some random nobody swooped in out of nowhere. Hu told them to lead the way. He can sense that if the atmosphere continues, Soryong will get challenged to duels left and right. They heard something that caught their attention. One of Hu's men pointed at something. They were looking at the golden-haired king bees. They were alarmed and puzzled as to why such dangerous, venomous creatures are inside the manor. They were on high alert and drew out their swords to protect everyone. Soryong tried to remind them of the new regulations within the Tang clan, but the man brushed him off. He wouldn't listen because he knew that golden-haired king bees are extremely venomous, and they can kill an ordinary person in an instant. Soryong tried to tell them, but he was squished and could barely speak. Then he snapped and raised his voice that those golden-haired king bees are creatures that he has been raising. He told everyone to calm down. Hwayun just sighed. The men were shocked that he's raising them. Their eyes bulged when they saw the queen bee hugged Soryong on the face. Then several more bees latched onto him. Soryong greeted them. It seemed like the bees were looking for him because he hasn't been around for a while. Then he told the bees not to shoot poison needles at their guests. The bees looked at the guests and showed a smug expression. Whose men were surprised to see that Soryong was treating those golden-haired king bees like his children. Just look at how they glare. Eventually, the fiery spirits of the soldiers cooled down. They kept walking with Hwayun and Soryong leading the way. Who didn't expect that the protagonist of the enigmatic young warrior of Hainan Island is the lover of the poisonous flower lady? He also noticed that even if Soryong was an outsider, he's treated as a son-in-law of the Tang clan. They noticed some men on the side. Hu turned pale as he wondered what it was. The men from the poison division were arguing on which animal represents the Tang clan best. Hu was rattled and puzzled, so he asked Soryong as to why those warriors are tending to insects and animals. Soryong explained that those people are sentenced to the venomous creature companionship punishment. Hu asked if those people committed some crime. Soryong replied that it could be referred to as that. The incident happened a few days ago. Hwayun was training Soryong to push out his internal energy. When someone called Soryong, he asked Commander Gu what was wrong. They all looked guilty as they apologized to Soryong. Pai informed him that more than half of the baby rats that were meant to feed the striped water snakes. Soryong immediately knew that they were dead, and he spouted that it couldn't be helped since rats are naturally sensitive, and if things get noisy, the mother kills them. But Pai corrected him that the warriors ate them. They were served as drinking snacks. It felt like Soryong's world crumbled as he heard that they ate the rats as drinking snacks. He wondered why anyone would eat that. Hwayun explained about 3 squeaks, a dish where they dip live baby rats in sauce and eat them. Pai apologized once again. He explained that some of the venom handlers were from Henan, and they said that it reminded them of their home, so one thing led to another. Hwayun told Pai that he should have stopped them. Soryong had a displeased facial reaction as he realized that the baby rats originally caught to be fed to the tiger-striped water snakes ended up being eaten by the warriors instead. He knew it can't go on. They need to properly care for the creatures they are raising. And that's how the Sichuan Tang clan established the venomous creature companionship punishment and a new set of rules. And that's why every warrior is now responsible for raising a venomous creature. Hu expressed that he understood, but he was sweating profusely. Then he glanced at Soryong. He realized that Soryong is not an ordinary person. Later that day, Hu, Soryong, and Muxiang were discussing around the table. Hu expressed that as he thought, the enigmatic young warrior whom the Tang clan patriarch met on Hainan Island turned out to be none other than Soryong. Muxiang asked him what he thinks. He suggested that Soryong is like a treasure in the Tang clan. Hu replied that simply calling Soryong enigmatic doesn't do him justice. He was impressed with the golden-haired king bees. Soryong felt that they were flattering him. Then Hu brought up a concerning topic, that they haven't found a single clue about the blood cult. He knew that they can't just sit back and allow their influence to keep growing. Muxiang requested Soryong to bring out something. Hu was intrigued. Muxiang raised his pointing finger, then they were enveloped in a barrier. He explained that they can't risk any sound leaking out, that's why he set up that chi barrier. Soryong brought out a bottle. Hu took it. Then Hu asked what kind of item requires even a chi barrier for secrecy. Muxiang revealed that it's an internal energy-dissipating poison. Hu replied that it's a fairly common poison. He saw it as hardly something that would require a chi barrier. Muxiang and Soryong looked at each other and nodded their heads. Then Muxiang told Hu that the particular internal dissipating poison he's holding only affects the members of the blood cult. Hu was surprised. He asked if that's true. Muxiang agreed with him that it's unbelievable, but emphasized that it's true. Hu stated that it's an incredible discovery. The reason they struggled so much during the blood cult's blood rebellion 30 years ago was because the blood cult had used internal dissipating poison against them. That's exactly what happened. Muxiang elaborated that when martial artists like them were poisoned, their internal energy scattered, rendering them powerless, but the blood cult members were completely unaffected. Hu inquired about the potency of the version of that poison. Muxiang replied that according to Hwayun, it reduces their physical abilities to that of an ordinary person. He shared that Hwayun defeated a blood cult elder who had been poisoned with a single strike. Hu was impressed since it meant that it has the same effect as the past internal energy dissipating poison. Hu thanked Muxiang and stated that with a gift like that, even the alliance leader will be able to breathe easier. Museong told him to direct his gratitude to Soryong since it was Soryong who made the discovery. Museong narrated that Soryong actually poisoned himself with it and lured a blood cult elder into absorbing his blood. Because of that, Soryong hovered between life and death for about 10 days. Hu stated that it was such remarkable wisdom and bravery to have him sacrifice his own body. Then he placed his hand on Soryong's shoulder and told Soryong that if there's anything he desires, he should tell him. And whatever it is, he will personally bring it up to the Alliance leader. Soryong spoke. Then he asked if it's possible to obtain information about toxic creatures. Hu was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that answer since he thought it would be martial manuals, elixirs, or gold and silver treasures, but no. He was even more confused when Museong just laughed. In his head, he thought of Soryong as a truly odd one. Even in the long history of Murim, it's the first time he'd seen such an eccentric person. He thought of something. Though it's not exactly the toxic creature Soryong is looking for, but he asked if Soryong would be interested in a mystical stone lizard. The scene then shifts at the waterfalls. Someone announced that they had arrived, and just like their ancestors described, the waterfall, the turtle-shaped rock, and on the side, they can see Mount Ganga's summit in the distance. They are currently in Mount Ganga, Sichuan. The man touched the crystal-clear water and described it as freezing cold since it's the water from the melting perennial snow. The man called General Jiggle Hu told everyone to wait while he asked Cheon to follow him. They jumped high and passes through the rocks towards the waterfall. They stood on the side. Jiggle followed the instruction that beyond the turtle-shaped rock, if they climb along the cliffside waterfall, there should be a cave entrance beside the fist-shaped rock. Cheon realized that it matches the records perfectly. They nodded at each other. Jiggle went in first and told Cheon to follow behind him. Cheon acknowledged that. Vines have already taken all over the cave. They looked around and was impressed at what they saw. They have arrived at their destination. It was a large rock being lit by the sunlight through a small hole on the roof of the cave. It was truly mystical, and it was unexpected to see such a breathtaking sight inside the cave. Jiggle stated that it's the perfect environment for spiritual herbs to thrive, and he found what he was looking for. The 300-year snow ginseng. It is a spiritual herb that has absorbed the extreme yin energy. Now, they just need to exchange the snow ginseng for the Namgung clan's dark fleece flower. With that, the severed meridians of Namgung clan's daughter should also improve. Jiggle crouched down. He was about to grab the flower. When they heard a loud animal sound, Jiggle sensed that something was coming out from between the rocks. It leapt and hit him on his arm. Then it passes through them. Cheon asked if his uncle was all right. Jiggle replied that he's fine. He warned Cheon to be careful since it's moving extremely fast. The thing was about to hit Jiggle from behind. He turned around and blocked it. He saw his fan and was surprised to see that the tip of it was frozen. He wondered if it's a frozen key. Cheon asked him what it was. Jiggle replied that it was a lizard. Cheon was confused. Jiggle explained that it was a blue-colored lizard. Back at the present time, Soryong had an intense reaction upon hearing that. A naturally occurring blue one is extremely rare. Museong told him that lizards aren't venomous. He asked Soryong if he's certain that it's safe. Soryong replied that it was fine. Our boy was already drooling just by thinking about this new creature, but then he added that lizards carry poison chi in their eyes. Museong had no idea what he's saying but agreed to it. Jiggle thought of Soryong as truly an eccentric one. Jiggle stated that if he received any information about other toxic creatures, he promised that they'll be the first one to know. Soryong and Museong were pleased. The next day, Soryong's father-in-law came back. Chilsan immediately called for Soryong. They welcomed him into the room. Chilsan grabbed Soryong's head and asked if he's all right. Soryong replied that he's fine. I think his life would be in danger if it was being held like this. Our boy then explained that even though he woke up after 10 days with a scar on his arm, at least he's alive. Cheolsun is angry at those blood cult bastards. Then he realized something. His daughter. He looked for Hwayun and asked if she's all right. Hwayun told her father to calm down. She stated that she's fine since Soryong and all the family members saved her. Museong added that Soryong really did something incredible. Then he narrated that after knocking down the elder, Soryong said something like, "Your natural enemy is me." Hwayun corrected him, saying that it was, "I'm your natural enemy." Soryong blushed from the embarrassment. Soryong stated that it just so happened that his plan worked well. Museong replied that it was thanks to them that they figured out blood cult's weakness. Jaegal waved and told Cheol-san that he's there too. Cheol-san greeted him and asked if he was well. Cheol-san told Jaegal that ever since Jaegal rose to a high position, they haven't been communicating much. And now, they are only meeting under those circumstances. Jaegal apologized for that. Soryong was confused. Hwayun whispered to him that Jaegal and Cheol-san are childhood friends. In Soryong's head, he thought it was so hectic. Jaegal invited Cheol-san to take a seat, especially since they have a lot to discuss starting from the blood cult. Cheol-san told them to sit too since they have to discuss it in detail. So later on, Cheol-san asked about the progress on the search for the secret agent. Soryong was confused. He wondered if they meant a spy or something similar. Cheol-san turned to him. Then he brought up what Soryong mentioned earlier, that those blood cult bastards broke in to steal the secret manual of the Blood Hand Poison Claw. Soryong replied that it seems like they considered it extremely valuable. So, in that case, he asked Soryong how those people found out that the Blood Hand Poison Claw is with the Tang clan of Sichuan. Soryong's expression turned grim. He panicked when he realized that it's a big problem. He asked if it could be that someone from their own clan leaked information to the blood cult. Cheol-san and Jaegal were dumbfounded. They find him amusing. Jaegal told Cheol-san that he needs to educate his son-in-law for a bit. It seems that, as a newcomer to the family, he's unaware of certain things. Still, he's rather amused hearing the interesting stories. Soryong wondered if he's the strange one. Hwayun explained to him that secret agents can never exist in the Tang clan. Cheol-san stated that even when selecting a mere servant, they conduct a thorough background check on all their direct relatives and distant cousins. And if they think they're acceptable, they bring all their direct family members into the clan. All their children are raised within the Tang clan. Under such circumstances, he doubted that no one would betray them. Soryong learned that they go through such extreme measures, so it made Soryong inquire who the secret agent is. In another setting, a pot was dropped. A woman was being choked. Jaegal replied that the traitor was a servant of the Murim Alliance. He stated that within the alliance, only 3 people had knowledge of the matter. By then, the alliance leader must have already caught her. Meanwhile, as the situation at the Tang clan was settling down, an unexpected guest arrived at the Tang clan manor. He's a big man, and he overwhelmed the guard. He stated that running all the way from Hebei to Chengdu without using mobility arts was quite entertaining. He tapped his chest and ordered the guard to inform their patriarch that Peng Wuhuan, the head of the Peng clan, has arrived. An arrow was released, and Soryong and Hwayun came running. Soryong asked her if it's all right that they stepped out for a bit. Hwayun replied yes, since the others are discussing something important. She encouraged him to have a bit more confidence in himself, especially since he is the son-in-law of the Sichuan Tang clan. Soryong expected them to be a guest from another faction, and he told himself that there's no need to be scared. But when he saw these large men, he got scared. Our boy's soul nearly left his body. Wuhuan noticed them. They were pleased to see Hwayun. Hwayun greets the head of the Hebei Ping clan. Wuhuan was friendly. He replied that it had indeed been such a long time since the last time he saw her. She was still small. Now, she has grown beyond recognition. Hwayun replied that it must have been 5 years ago. It has been indeed a really long time. Wuhuan noticed Soryong and inquired who he was. This fucker looked nervous. Then he introduced himself as the son-in-law of the Sichuan Tang clan. Wuhuan wasn't that enthusiastic about it. He grabbed his cheeks and asked if he is Hwayun's betrothed. Hwayun replied that he is her betrothed. Wuhuan sized him up. Soryong avoided his gaze. He watches him. Then out of the blue, he grabbed Soryong's manhood to check. Soryong was red as a tomato. It was just a simple verification. Wuhuan expressed that he was wondering if Soryong was too young, but down below, he's really a man. Wuhuan also assured Hwayun that in a few years, she'll meet Soryong's big black mamba. Hwayun blushed and covered her face. Then she whispered to him that the people of the Hebei Peng clan really dislike formalities and rigid etiquette, so perhaps the clan head has his own way of evaluating Soryong. Soryong learned their style. It was then confirmed that his pee-pee is top tier. He was pleased that a man recognized another man. He thanked the head of the Peng clan for his compliment. Wuhuan laughed out loud and stated that Soryong is different from those useless brats from other noble clans. Then he introduced himself as Peng Wuhuan, the clan head of the Peng clan. He looked forward to working with Soryong, and Soryong stated the same. Hwayun called out to him. She assumed that they came all the way from distant Hebei just to help their family. She asked them how they got there so fast. Wu Huan asked what they would help him with. He inquired if something happened to the Tang clan. Huayan wondered then on why they had come to the Tang clan. Soryong saw that she got flustered. They headed inside, and Wu Huan learned that the blood cult appeared. Huayun explained that they have been eradicated. Wu Huan felt bad that they didn't come a little earlier. Cheol-sun asked him what brought him there. He forgot about it since he felt so agitated because of the damn blood cult. He came there hoping to receive some help from the Tang clan. He sighed. Then he ordered his men to bring out someone because that girl needs to at least greet her elders. The door opened. A large man appeared. Soryong was dumbfounded because he's expecting a kid. Then the man called out to the miss and told her to come down since she needs to pay her respects to the elders of the Sichuan Tang clan. A girl from the man's back replied that she's still sleepy. Soryong was shocked. A little girl was placed down and she looked at them while holding a lollipop. She started speaking and greeted them. She introduced herself as Peng Yingying of Peng clan. Wu Huan introduced her as his daughter. Huayun and Soryong were surprised. In Soryong's head, it was a miracle of genetics. But it was funny because Wu Huan stated that they look alike so much that people ended up giving them that look. Then he stated that it was because of the child that he came to the Tang clan. It's because his daughter is a bit unwell and requested them to take a look at her. Cheol-sun clarified if Wu Huan's daughter is sick. Soryong watched the little girl. She was eating heartily. That night, after listening to Yingying's symptoms and examining her, the cause remained unknown. The explanation from the Peng clan head was as follows. Sometimes Yingying has trouble breathing and large red blotches appear on her body. In severe cases, she even loses consciousness. After some time, she regains her senses, but he has no idea what's causing it. He searched and searched, even had the disciples of the medicine sect examine her, but they all said she was perfectly healthy, and it's driving him mad. One of the disciples even said something strange that Wu Huan nearly beat him half to death before stopping himself. Cheol-sun asked about something strange. Wu Huan narrated that the disciple suspected symptoms of poisoning due to someone's deliberate act of poisoning, but Wu Huan believed that there's no way someone like that exists within the Peng clan. Cheol-sun stated that if it's poisoning, it could be internal. Wu Huan yelled that the people of the Peng clan would never do something like that. Since he got agitated, Wu Huan decided not to talk about it further. He also didn't want to suspect his own people. Jaegel agreed that nothing is certain yet, so they better not jump to conclusions. Poisoning doesn't always happen because someone deliberately administered poison. Cheol-sun decided to provide them with an empty courtyard in the guest residence so they can stay there and observe the condition of the child. He stated that determining whether it's poisoning or some strange disease should come first. Wu Huan expressed his gratitude and uttered that they will be imposing on him for the time being. While Soryong lays on his bed, no matter how he looks at it, it's childhood diabetes. Sugar is literally multiplying inside her body, but it made him think if diabetes causes red blotches, if there were obvious symptoms, it should have been easier to recognize. Someone knocked at his door and reported that something serious happened. He asked what the matter was. Then the man reported that the young lady of the Ping clan had collapsed. It was late at night. Soryong came out running. He saw Huayun and asked what on earth happened. The Pei clan surrounds the young lady. Huayun explained that Yingying was sitting on the pavilion, coughing, and then suddenly collapsed. Cheol-sun stated that if she collapsed even in their territory, it was safe to assume that there were no spies within the Peng clan. Wu Huan insisted that there really isn't one. Surprisingly, Wu Huan punched himself. He lost a tooth. Then he smiled and apologized. He admitted that even though he said those words earlier, he cannot forgive himself for momentarily suspecting his own people. He stated that even if Yingying collapsed there, it must be for another reason. One of the Peng clan's people cried from being touched. While Soryong was rattled, Wu Huan's tooth fell. The Peng clan punches themselves too while saying that they couldn't prevent the young lady from collapsing. It's a great sin. It was chaotic. Cheol-sun told them to calm down. While their teeth fell, Huayun asked Soryong what they should do. Soryong stated that there is a way. He yelled for everyone to calm down. Then he stated that there is a way to identify the cause of her symptoms and prove that no one is guilty beyond doubt. Cheol-sun asked what exactly the method was. They all anticipated it. Then Soryong stated the first step. They had to remove Yingying's clothes. Huayun and Cheol-sun turned pale. Wu Huan angrily replied, "What?" Wu Huan asked Soryong what he just said. Soryong was dumbfounded. Then he stated that he needs to take off Yingying's clothes. Suddenly, Wu Huan grabbed his collar. Wu Huan was angry that Soryong wanted to strip her naked. Soryong wanted to explain. Sensing the danger, the centipede peeked from his shirt. Soryong ordered it to get inside. Cheolsan tried to make Wu Huan calm and explained that his son-in-law must have a reason for saying such a thing. Huayun seconded that. Wu Huan was in rage, but he eventually agreed. Since Soryong dared to suggest stripping his daughter, who has yet to reach her prime, and watching her with those lecherous eyes, he agreed to listen to whatever justification Soryong can offer. He let go of Soryong's clothing. Soryong told him to calm down and listen until the end. Wu Huan scoffed. He clarified that what meant was to take off all her clothing and change her into something else. Because it's possible that something in her clothing or personal belonging is what caused her to collapse. Wu Huan was surprised when he realized that was funny. He felt agitated again that he doubted the young warrior's words. Soryong panicked and told him to wait. Then Soryong empathized with him that the sudden collapse of his daughter must have left him shaken. Wu Huan felt grateful that Soryong was understanding his mistake. Then Soryong stated that from then on the young lady will be placed under the care of the Tang clan. Until further notice, contact with the Pang clan will be restricted. Everyone was surprised. Wu Huan asked if it included him too. Soryong replied yes, and that if she experiences the same symptoms under their care, then it proves the cause isn't related to the Ping clan. Controlled environmental adjustment is a technique commonly used by breeders who raise venomous insects, snakes, and amphibians. If only the creatures they care for could tell them which parts hurt, things would be simpler. But humans can't communicate with them directly. That's why humans systematically change aspects of their environment to pinpoint what's making the creature unwell. Soryong used that method to diagnose the young lady of the Peng clan. He'll reset her environment completely and gradually reintroduce elements to identify triggers, since they can't just sit back and let her keep collapsing without knowing why. Cheol-san agreed with him. Though it might take some time, they should be able to uncover the cause of her condition. He replied that it was a good idea. Wu Huan understood, but he didn't look good. He's crying as he told them to take good care of her. Soryong told him to trust in him. In Soryong's head, it's because he had already raised countless creatures, so a little girl is nothing in comparison. But it wasn't as easy as Soryong expected. Ying was crying. She cried loudly, and it made Soryong panic. The moment she regained her consciousness, she started crying. Meanwhile, Huayan and mother-in-law were collecting essential supplies to tend to Lady Peng. As such, Soryong was left alone with an unpredictable child. It was just the two of them. Soryong asked if she's hungry or asleep, but she was just crying. Soryong was lost on what to do. She kept crying. Soryong asked if it was because Lord Peng wasn't there. He explained that he went to get medicine for her and he'll be back. Lady Peng replied that it's because she wants sweets. Soryong was surprised that it's not about dad, but sweets. Soryong recalled that she had a bunch of hidden pockets for sweets. Ying is crying that all sweets are gone and all alone. Soryong told her to calm down and explained that since she just collapsed, she can't eat sweets yet. Then Soryong told her to eat rice porridge and later he will make some sweets for her. That made her stop crying. Soryong told her that if she eats her porridge well and listens well, he will make candied fruit skewers just for her. They made a promise about it. Ying stated that the Peng clan always keeps their promises, and if she breaks her, he should punch her in the face. Soryong replied, "No way!" In his head, he cursed the Peng clan to ask what they're teaching their kids. The next morning, inside the Tang clan grounds, Wu Huan is hiding in the bush to watch her daughter. He had been burdened with worry. Because of the no contact with the Peng clan rule, he couldn't be with his daughter. Soryong found him and asked him what he's doing. He pulled Soryong into the bush. He inquired as to how Ying was doing. Soryong reported that she eats well and listens obediently. Wu Huan was surprised that she's eating well. Soryong narrated that yesterday, Ying devoured an entire plate of fried pork. Wu Huan asked him how he managed to get her to eat. Soryong replied that she ate it fine on her own. Wu Huan wondered how Soryong could do what he couldn't. They were surprised that someone approached them. It was Huayun. She greeted Wu Huan. Wu Huan thanked her for taking care of his daughter. Huayun reported that Ying is asking where elder brother Soryong went. Wu Huan was surprised at how Ying addressed Soryong. It's because he hasn't had a proper conversation with her daughter yet. He asked Soryong when they became close. At this point, he's jealous and angry. He probed further on when it started. Soryong started running away. Huayun asked if he's heading to the training grounds. He replied yes, since if they play around a bit with the golden-haired king bees, Ying listens better. And it seems like the golden-haired king bees are fond of Ying too. Ying was holding one of the bees when Soryang called out to her. She was pleased to see him. She played with the bees. They licked her and it tickled her. Thanks to those little creatures, Soryang was able to bond with Ying really fast. Golden-haired king bees absolutely loved her, probably because she spilled sugar syrup all over herself while eating sweets. Hopefully they are not mistaking her for food. Either way, Ying knows they like her, so now she throws a tantrum every day demanding to visit them. Ying pointed at the queen bee. A little playtime before heading back keeps Ying in check, so it's a win-win. Soryang told her that the queen was busy, so she shouldn't ask her to play. Soryang thought that if he had a younger sister, it would feel like that. He thought that taking care of kids isn't so bad. Ying called out to him and informed him that there's another bee. That shocked Soryang. He was about to warn her to be careful, but she screamed. She got stung. He asked if she's okay. She was about to cry. Soryang invited her to head to the medicine hall first. Ying replied that it doesn't look bad. Soryang told her that they need to apply medicine because sometimes bee venom can make people really sick. She agreed to it. Then he noticed that her breathing was shallow, and she didn't look good. Then she collapsed. He remembered the symptoms that Wu Huan told him. He knew that reaction. The reason Ying has been collapsing all this time is because of anaphylactic shock, or anaphylaxis. Anaphylaxis is a severe allergic reaction caused by an overactive immune response. Usually when extraneous harmful substances or toxins enter the body, the immune system immediately launches an attack to eliminate the threat. And that immune response is known as inflammation. The body releases histamine, which dilates blood vessels, allowing white blood vessels and antibodies to flood in and neutralize the invader. The problem arises when the body overreacts to certain harmless substances. It was chaotic in the body. When histamine is excessively released and malfunctions due to overactive immune response, blood vessels across the entire body rapidly dilate, leading to a dangerous drop in blood pressure. As blood vessels widen, symptoms such as breathing difficulties and severe itching appear. In extreme cases, anaphylaxis can be fatal. Soryang ran as fast as he could. They don't have time. He told Ying to wait a bit longer. He arrived in front of the pavilion. Then he reported to father-in-law that Ying lost consciousness. He ran out together with Wu Huan. Soryang reported that Ying is having difficulty breathing. Wu Huan poured his internal energy to stabilize her. She let out a long breath. Soryang was relieved. He realized how incredible internal energy is. The primary treatment for anaphylaxis is stabilizing blood pressure and ensuring an open airway for breathing. In modern medicine, this is done using epinephrine, steroids, and antihistamines. In severe cases, intubation is required to assist breathing. But in their world, Ki-based techniques solve everything. No wonder Soryang finds it impressive. Cheol-san realized that Ying's symptoms are the same as last time. Cheol-san inquired if Soryang saw what triggered it. Wu Huan asked the same question. Soryang admitted that he clearly saw it. Ying collapsed after being stung by a bee. Cheol-san and Wu Huan were surprised. Cheol-san stated that even though it's rare, there are cases of people fainting after being stung by a bee. But that wouldn't explain why she collapsed at all other times. Wu Huan agreed, because if the bee stung were the cause, she wouldn't have made it all the way there. So it just means that they don't know what's the cause. Cheol-san replied that they can't find any clear connection. Soryang called his father-in-law. Then he revealed that he found out what the cause was. He asked him if he's telling the truth. He explained that young lady Peng being stung by a bee helped him find out the real cause. Wu Huan asked him to explain. So, first of all, Soryang stated that they need to remove all her clothing. Wu Huan got triggered again. Soryang got an earful. Few hours later, Hwaeun reported that the rashes on Ying's body made it difficult to see at first. But beneath it, there are some old marks, and now, new ones have appeared. They were pleased that Soryang was right. Mother-in-law came out of the room and scolded them to quiet down since Ying hasn't regained consciousness yet. They politely followed her. Then Wu Huan brought up the topic that there were additional marks beyond just the rash. Then he asked as to why her daughter has been fainting all this time. Soryang replied that it was because of bee venom poisoning. Wu Huan was confused because the Tang patriarch just stated that it was not the cause. He added that there's no way they wouldn't notice a bee sting, and their courtyard has no flowers. Only stone pavement. There's no reason for bees to be there. So, he probed as to what makes Soryang certain that it's bee venom. Soryong replied that a bee sting would have been noticeable. In Soryong's mind, there's no doubt about her symptoms matching perfectly with anaphylaxis caused by bee venom. He thought about it. He needed to find out what other creature is having the same venom as a bee, one that contains melittin or peptides that trigger swelling and difficulty breathing. Our boy used his encyclopedia knowledge again. It was like having superpowers at this point. Hebei province in China has a temperate continental climate. Venomous creatures in such regions would include white-lipped pit viper, Chinese cobra, Chinese scorpion, red ant, red-chested ant. Soryong ruled out the snakes. And scorpions, too. Wu Huan watched him and asked Cheol-san what he's doing. Cheol-san shushed him and told him to leave Soryong be. Soryong continued to think of an environment where Ying would be stung often by that creature. He thought of her usual activities and remembered she likes sweets. She had a secret pocket in her clothes for hiding sweets. Soryong found his answer. Our MC told them that he's certain that it's bee venom, and they can trust him. Huayun was confused. Wu Huan asked him what on earth is he saying when there's no bees in Peng clan residents. Soryong said that those from the Tang clan would know that poison doesn't affect everyone the same way. For some, even a pinprick's worth can be lethal, while others can endure 10 times that amount without issue. Cheol-san told Wu Huan that Soryong is right. Even with the same poison, effects vary from person to person. Soryong explained that Ying is sensitive to bee venom, and they saw that earlier. Wu Huan replied yes to that. So Soryong concluded that one thing is certain. Ying is vulnerable to bee venom. But if there are no bees in her home, that leaves one possibility. Wu Huan asked him what it would be. Soryong replied that it's a bee, but a very special kind. Nighttime came, and they were all outside. Wu Huan asked Soryong if he's certain that it was there. Soryong replied yes. He requested Huayun to shine some light. They saw ants munching on a sweet. A large ant bit the other ant. Soryong grabbed that ant with a chopstick, and he told them that it's the culprit. Wu Huan was confused since it's an ant, not a bee. Soryong told him to look closely. It's a collateral relative of bees. Wu Huan couldn't follow. Then he saw it. It has a massive stinger on the butt. It's confusing that there's an ant with a stinger that big. Cheol-san couldn't believe it. He realized now what Soryong meant when he said that it is a collateral relative. Wu Huan was stuck on the realization that it was an ant with a big stinger. Soryong explained that the little guy is a collateral relative of the bee who made Ying pass out. It is a king stinger ant. The ant is the real culprit behind Ying's condition, belonging to the Hymenoptera order, Formicidae family. It is called Pachycondyla chinensis, or Asian needle ant, king stinger ant, or Pachycondyla chinesis. Its order is Hymenoptera, family of Formicidae, subfamily of Ponarinae. One would wonder what the hell do ants have to do with stingers? The stinger ants evolved from the same ancestor as bees, which means they have retained a lot of bee-like characteristics. In fact, studies on the venom of both stinger ants and bees have shown that people who experience anaphylaxis from stinger ant venom also tend to react the same way to bee venom. Anyway, Soryong expressed that he doesn't think the ant was targeting Ying specifically. It probably showed up to feast on the demonic beasts swarming on the Tang household. The king stinger demon ant primarily preys on other demonic creatures after all. Besides, the sting mark looked like an ordinary rash, so back then, they had no way to tell what had actually stung Ying. And by the time Ying regained consciousness a few days later, she probably just assumed it was a leftover blemish from something insignificant. Wu Huan expressed that it made sense. He didn't expect Ying to collapse because of such a pathetic little creature. He asked Cheol-san if he had an antidote for it. Cheol-san thought about it. He replied that there is an antidote for bee venom, but in cases like Ying, where the body is highly sensitive to the toxin, it often doesn't even work. Wu Huan got worried. Cheol-san uttered that knowing the cause is a step forward. At least they can be cautious before Ying collapses again. Wu Huan took a deep breath. He expressed that he hasn't thanked them properly yet. He expressed his gratitude to Soryong. Soryong assured Wu Huan that there's no need to worry since there is a way to treat Ying. It's slow, but it exists. Wu Huan was surprised to know that. He requested Soryong to inform him. Soryong replied that it's called desensitization. He elaborated what it meant, that D means without sense, as in feeling, and ization, which means making it happen. Wu Huan was dumbfounded. He got agitated since he thought they had to strip her again. Soryong clarified that it's a treatment where small amounts of bee venom are injected into her body over time, gradually decreasing her sensitivity to the toxin. But it will take a while. Soryong stated that once the treatment is complete, Yingying will no longer collapse from the venom. Cheol-san agreed that it's a viable method. He added that even in the Tang clan, they have similar techniques, gradually introducing poison to the body to build resistance. Wu Huan inquired if Yingying would no longer collapse once the treatment was over. Cheol-san replied that it will take a long time, but it should be possible. Wu Huan smiled brightly. He tapped Soryong's back while thanking him for saving his daughter. He smiled again. Then he stated that after receiving such help, there's no way he can just let it pass. He asked Soryong if there's anything he wants. Whatever it is, he'll just have to name it, and Wu Huan will grant it. Deep inside, Soryong was thinking about what the hell is it with people around there. The moment they were helped, they started throwing around blank checks. So-young expressed that Yingying is like a little sister to him now. Wu Huan replied that there's no such thing as modesty in Peng Clan, so he should just speak it out. Wu Huan taps Soryong's back with unintentional force, and it makes Soryong think that if he doesn't spit something out right now, he will die. Then he thought of something. Soryong invited Wu Huan for a mountain tour. Wu Huan got curious, at Mount Gonga Sichuan province. Wu Huan exclaimed that it was splendid. He commented that it was a magnificent mountain. Soryong replied that there's even a beautiful stone cliff. Huayun uttered that according to the general, that should be the place. Soryong recognized that it must be the waterfall that he mentioned. Soryong inquired how they were supposed to reach the cave behind the waterfall. Wu Huan was confused with the question. Then he remembered that Soryong said that he only recently started learning mobility arts. So Soryong might not be familiar with the technique of wave-stepping swallow fight. Soryong asked what it was. Wu Huan stared blankly at him. Then he made a troubled look. He told Soryong that explaining is a pain, so he grabbed him by the shirt. Then he threw the shit out of Soryong towards the waterfall. Our boy just became a human catapult. Huayun was shocked. Then Wu Huan made his way to the cave. Wu Huan laughed as he learned that Soryong had a nimble body. Huayun got worried for him. Huayun uttered that it looked like the entrance to that cavern. Soryong expressed that an entrance behind a waterfall feels so mysterious. Wu Huan invited them to head in and find out whatever is there. At the cave behind the waterfall, they made their way inside. Soryong's expression was, "Huh?" He expressed that something feels off. Huayun agrees. But they knew that there's no way that General would have lied. But the inside of the cavern was nothing like what they had expected. Because from the Jaegal of Morim Alliance described, there was a beam of light poured down into the center of the cavern, and the ground was covered in countless nameless flowers in bloom. It was mysterious and strange beyond words. It was like a whole other world, like a paradise. Soryong uttered that it was like hell, and far from paradise. Although the light is pouring in through that hole, there aren't any blooming plants. In fact, they all look withered and wilted. Wu Huan uttered that it's so much for a sacred beast. He wondered if it alters the environment around it. He saw the cold qi radiating from the boulder at the center. Soryong agreed. Wu Huan grabbed his sword and told him to stand behind him and stay sharp. And as he expected, it was seriously cold. He yelled, "Come forth!" A loud monster noise echoed. Wu Huan told them that it was right ahead, so they should stay close. Soryong was excited from hearing the insane roar. It slowly started to come out. Soryong peeked from Wu Huan's shoulder. Soryong identified it as a fat-tailed gecko, and he estimated that it's roughly about a foot long. It has tiny, round, yellow eyes, and that slightly chubby little tail. Soryong was about to lose it because he found it to be incredibly cute. Huayun commented that it was a beautifully colored blue lizard. Soryong expressed that just as he expected, Huayun was able to recognize its worth, but then Wu Huan saw something that alerted him. He informed them that there was another one inside. Soryong thought that lizards must have been a pair. He finds it amazing because they might get an offspring out of it. Soryong called out Lord Peng and told him that they have to bring them back alive no matter what. He looked for the other one and saw it inside the crease. It looked sick. Huayun asked Soryong if something was wrong. Soryong replied that he caught a faint glimpse, but he knew it wasn't good. He doesn't think that the other one is breathing. Meanwhile, the other one tried to intimidate them. Soryong entrusted the task to Pei. He advised him to call him if anything happens. Pei told him to leave it to him, and that if the rock thing shows any unusual behavior, he will report to Soryong immediately. They had decided to retreat for now. First off, they didn't know anything about its habits, and trying something reckless could have harmed the already injured creature. Weiyun was looking cute when she called Soryong to come down and eat. The 3 centipedes were all over her. Soryong blushed as he imagined her cooking for him while carrying their child. It was kinda sweet. They were out camping. Wu Huan inquired if there's any progress. Soryong replied that it didn't move at all. Wu Huan said that when he checked it too, the thing hadn't moved a bit. He expected it to go eat or something. Soryong thought that too. Usually, geckos or common lizards go on a fast for several days when they are stressed out. Especially fat-tailed geckos, they store energy in their thick tails. If it hasn't eaten anything, it's probably surviving on the stored energy alone. Soryong knows they are at a point where a decision needs to be made. He informed them that they need to finally check on the one that hasn't been moving at all. Wu Huan simplified it to catching the creatures. Soryong clarified that it's not exactly catching. It's more like they need to check whether it was injured. In the meantime, if it gets hungry, it might even eat something. Soryong requested Lord Peng to lure the one that's left. Wu Huan, being the simple-minded that he is, replied that it would be easier to knock it out with a single hit. That way, they would get both the healthy one and the injured one. Deep inside, Soryong knew that if he hit it with those muscles, it would probably die on the spot. Soryong explained that if he hits it, even the rock that drove General Jagel's men might just drop dead on the spot. It will blow up like a bomb. Wu Huan proudly replied, "Of course." Then he stated that it's no wonder that a scholar like Jagel, who is always glued to his desk, got pushed aside by a freak like that rock thing. He agreed with Soryong that if he hit it, he might really kill it. So, he asked if they should just go with Soryong's plan to gently subdue it. Soryong replied that it seems like the best move. He explained the plan. First, Lord Peng will lure out the lively gecko. Then Lady Huayun and him will check on the one that looks injured. Meanwhile, the poison division can block off the paths to Soryong. Wu Huan replied that it seemed like the best approach. Wu Huan asked if there's anything that he needs to watch out for. Soryong told him to make sure it doesn't get to the wall because it could climb and come over to his side. Wu Huan understood. He's now fired up. Soryong reminded him to go easy. Soryong knew that if the gecko is really sick, it might not have much time left. Wu Huan and his men faced the feisty gecko. It was on high alert. Soryong whispered to Wu Huan that it was time. He took out his sword and released his aura. It was as if he was about to fight a powerful opponent, which made our boy dumbfounded. Then they moved based on the plan. The gecko roared loudly. It moved quickly. It targeted Wu Huan, but Wu Huan deflected it with his large sword. Wu Huan commented that it has some weight to it. He commented that it was good enough to be a first-rate warrior of the Peng family. It stepped back and attacked again. Wu Huan was entertained. It moved fast and tried to hit Wu Huan with its tail, but Wu Huan deflected it again. While it was on the air, Wu Huan found their chance. They surrounded it. It roared loudly that it spooked Soryong and Huayun. Huayun told Soryong to move quickly while they can. They looked around. Soryong saw something. Huayun inquired if it's really injured. Soryong replied that it seems that way. He saw that the tail tip was necrotizing from incomplete shedding. It couldn't finish shedding, and now its eyes are filled with pus too. Weiyun asked what they should do. Soryong replied that they had to treat it immediately. Weiyun uttered that there's no medicine in there. Soryong replied that it's fine because he'll just have to strip its tail off. Weiyun looked displeased. She's annoyed that it seems like Soryong wants to strip everything. Soryong blushed. In his head, though, it was the only right method. The weak gecko noticed them and stood up. Soryong assured it that it will be fine. He told it to stay still because he will treat it. He slowly reaches for it. He was able to carry it without problem. He realized that like the queen bee, it seems to understand speech to some extent. It had calmed down. Soryong pinched its skin. Huayun was taken aback. Soryong explained that those creatures, like snakes, also shed their skin. Soryong stated that wild fat-tailed geckos often eat their own shed skin, so it's usually hard to find any remnants. Huayun finds it fascinating. Soryong uttered that the skin was insanely tough. He took out a small blade since doing it barehanded won't do. He slowly chipped the skin. Huayun was shocked. She commented that it looked like a gemstone. The skin underneath was slowly revealed and its color is pretty. Soryong gently removed the skin on its feet. Hwa-yoon couldn't help but comment that it's cute. It was like a glove. Soryong knew it was irresistible. Even back in his Yupturber days, videos of peeling off shed skin blew up. The only parts left with unshed skin are the head and tail. Soryong decided to hold it while he took off the skin on his head. He needs to be extra careful around the eyes. And as he thought, pus had built up in its eyes. It's because it couldn't shed properly. Inflammation filled up the eyes. He gently pulls the skin. Eventually, it was all done. He asked the gecko if it felt better. Hwa-yoon exclaimed that its eyes were opening. It looked really pretty. But Hwa-yoon was confused as to why Soryong didn't share her excitement. Soryong expressed that he's debating on what to do with its tail. To stop the necrosis, he had to cut the tail off. But in its current state, he might accidentally kill it. Suddenly, they heard a warning to be careful. It's because Wuhan had lost the gecko. Now, it's facing Soryong and Hwa-yoon. It was furious. Soryong yelled at it to calm down. When instinct kicks in, he points a dagger at it, and on the other hand, he hugs the injured gecko. He told the raging one that he's trying to treat his friend. He realized that the dagger showed he had an ill intent. The feisty gecko was raging. Its blue fury echoed through the cave. Bro looked like it was gonna evolve. The gecko roared loudly, and it's concentrating its power. Blue strikes of lightning were already coming out from its body. Our boy knew that it was pissed off. It launches forward. Hwa-yoon told Soryong to watch out. She pushed him away. The gecko hit the ground instead. Soryong crashed on the ground, but he held the blue injured gecko tightly. Then he told the angry one to wait. He tried to explain. Suddenly, he heard the gecko that he's holding making a noise. It's like it's trying to talk to the other gecko. The other gecko was furious. But suddenly, its anger dissipated. And then, these two geckos started laughing. Soryong was surprised to see that they're talking to each other. Wu Huan and his men rushed to Soryong's side. They asked him if he's all right. Wu Huan was annoyed that the gecko was vicious and fast. He didn't expect it to slip out between his legs. The gecko turned at him angrily. Soryong stepped in and told them to wait. He told them that he's fine, and requested them to step back a bit as he tries to talk to the gecko. Wu Huan was dumbfounded. He asked Soryong if he thinks that the bastard even understands words. Soryong replied that the gecko seems to understand speech to some extent, and that the gecko won't probably attack them again. He requested Hwa-yoon to fetch some dried grass. She did as she was told. The baby centipede helped her with it. Soryong settled the gecko on the dried grass. Then he told the geckos that he's not trying to hurt them. He explained that he peeled off the shell that wouldn't come off and removed what was covering the female gecko's eyes. Then he told the male gecko to keep licking the female gecko's eyes for a while. The male gecko did as he was told. Then Soryong uttered that there's one problem left. The male gecko made a sound as if he's asking what it is. Soryong explained that the eyes should be fine, but half of the female gecko's tail is already rotting. He doesn't think that licking it is going to help. The male gecko checked the tail. Then Soryong continued to speak. The male gecko paid attention. Then Soryong expressed that they have to cut the tail off. The male gecko imagined it, and he looked horrified. He started growling at Soryong. Then it attacked Soryong. Soryong screamed out loud. It was followed by a loud noise. After that, Soryong was being tended by Hwa-yoon. Soryong hurt his cheek. He whined about that ungrateful brat when he's trying to help it. Hwa-yoon told him to hold still since she's still applying some healing balm. If he moves, it might leave a scar. Wu Huan was amused, and he told Soryong that it looked like he's finally starting to act like a real man, and that's because he got himself a glorious scar in battle. But Hwa-yoon, being the best waifu that she is, gave Wu Huan a death glare. Wu Huan got speechless as he knew that he'll get in trouble for teasing Soryong. Even the centipedes were giving the death glare, except for one that was always sleeping. Soryong was thinking that at least the misunderstanding had been cleared up. The centipedes clung to Hwa-yoon. Seeing how the centipedes aren't reacting to any killing intent, Soryong assumed that the little gecko never meant to hurt him in the first place. Commander Gu called Soryong. Gu pointed at the creature and uttered that it looked like it wanted to say something. Soryong assumed the tit's finally ready. The gecko nodded its head. Soryong replied that he'll do his best, but before that he wanted to ask something. Soryong asked what they were eating. He explained that since he's going to cut off the female gecko's tail, she'll need to eat something nutritious to recover properly. The male gecko started running. Soryong followed him. The male gecko was waiting for Soryong. Then Soryong noticed the plant on the male gecko's mouth. It was on Soryong's palm when Hwayun asked if she could take a look. Soryong gave it to her. Hwayun inspected it. She shared that she felt a faint qi seeping out. She identified that it's a seed of a spirit herb that used to grow there. Soryong was surprised to have learned that. Wu Huan shared that he heard about it long ago, that a spirit herb always grows wherever spiritual beasts dwell. Hwayun replied that if that's the case, then maybe the geckos were just like the centipedes who survive by feeding on the qi of spirit herbs. Then Soryong realized that since they have spirit herbs, it could mean they're in serious trouble. He immediately started replanting it. Wu Huan told him that it's no use, because once a spirit herb has been touched by human hands, it won't grow again. Wu Huan assumed that the little one must have known it too. That's why he dug it up and showed it to them. Wu Huan told him that even if it's replanted, it won't grow past that point. Soryong imagined a human cruelly pulling out the spiritual herb, and that left the creatures in a pitiful situation. Soryong felt sorry that it made him cry. Wu Huan inquired on what was the name of the spirit herb that used to grow there. Gu replied that he remembered that it's called frost ginseng. Wu Huan told them that all they need to do is find something that gives off the same kind of qi as frost ginseng. Soryong perked up upon hearing that there's something like that. Wu Huan replied that there is. And it's called ice jade. Just like frost ginseng, it carries the essence of cold qi. Wu Huan expressed that the problem is how to obtain the ice jade. It's incredibly rare. Even with money, it's not something easily acquired. Hwayun joined the conversation about ice jade and told them that she knew someone who has it. Wu Huan and Soryong's eyes sparkled upon hearing that. It was great news. Soryong enthusiastically asked who it was. Soryong and Wu Huan anticipated her answer, but Hwayun was having difficulty saying it. She took a deep breath. Then with a smug look on her face, she uttered that it's some other weed or whatever. Wu Huan was confused. Soryong's jaw dropped. Then, we see Hwayun pouted. Soryong could only think what, with an overwhelmed expression. Soryong turned pale. Wu Huan asked about what the weed meant. Hwayun had an annoyed expression while Soryong was flustered. He couldn't believe that his father-in-law said something like that back then. It was during their first meeting when Chil-san clarified that his daughter is not a weed. Wu Huan asked who is the other weed that supposedly has the ice jade. Soryong couldn't believe he asked it that way. Hwayun knew that person. She stated that it is one of the 3 flowers of Murim, the Flame Queen Peony. Her name is Namgung Seol, the daughter of the Namgung clan. And from what Hwayun heard, Seol has the ice jade but doesn't really need it. The gecko approached Soryong and made a noise. Hwayun asked what it's saying. Soryong replied that it's asking them to quickly treat the injured one. Soryong suggested saving the rest of the talk after they had treated the gecko. Hwayun acknowledged that. She also noticed that the gecko was on edge. Soryong checked at the injured one. He took it out from the cave. Hwayun expressed that she heard that geckos can cut off their own tail. She wondered why it held out until it got bad. Soryong replied that she's right, but also knew that there are also some that aren't like that. That was new information for Hwayun. When a lizard cuts off its own tail, it's called autotomy, and depending on the species, the traits are different. There are ones that can perform autotomy, but can't regenerate. Some can both shed and regrow, and others can do neither. That's why they can't assume, until they have properly examined it. Soryong told them that once they confirmed it, they would find the detachment segment and press it with a finger to trigger the separation. Hwayun asked about the detachment segment. Soryong explained that even though it looks like the gecko's talk can be cut off anywhere, but in truth, the point where it breaks is predetermined. That's what they call the detachment segment. Hwayun expressed that she didn't know much about geckos since they aren't poisonous. She asked how Soryong knew that much. Soryong just laughed it off. Soryong sounded confident when he said that, but he's worried since the tail is already really decayed, so he isn't certain that the surgery will go well. But they'll just have to try it anyway. He cheered for himself. He squeezed the tail. A few minutes later, Wu Huan was sitting nearby. He was with the other gecko. He expressed that it's taking longer than he thought. The gecko made a noise. Soryong and Hwayun was approaching them. Wu Huan asked what happened to the gecko. Soryong replied that it went well. And as long as they take good care of the gecko, it should be fine. The healthy gecko was so happy. Soryong noticed that too. Wu Huan, while watching them, thought that the more he looks at Soryong, the more he learns that the boy is amazing. After completing the surgery like that, Soryong and the rest decided to stay nearby to monitor its condition for a few days. A few days later, Soryong and Hua Yun came running. They were excited to see the geckos. The geckos happily greeted them. Soryong finds them so cute. They're not even kittens, they're like freaking puppy lizards. He thought that if it was in his past life, it would have gone viral. She saw that the injured gecko had regained some of its strength. Soryong told them goodbye. The gecko seemed confused. Soryong explained that they aren't leaving for good. They would just gather food for them and come back. He told them that until then, the geckos should conserve the seed's chi. The geckos replied and nodded their heads. It was so freaking cute. Soryong told Weiyun that they should return to the Tang clan. Their next task is to retrieve the ice jade, back at the pavilion. They are in the room with Chae-Olsen. Quite a few pieces of news had arrived, and among them, the biggest incident was, without a doubt, the matter concerning the blood cult. After the identity of a spy embedded within the Murim alliance was exposed, their warriors followed the owl that an attendant raised. The man in hiding was surprised. The owl led them right to the blood cult's hideout. Coincidentally, a squad had just returned to the Murim alliance, and the Tang clan sent along poison extracted from tiger-striped water snakes to them. Soryong heard that poison played a major role when the Murim alliance raided the hideout. Chae-Olsen informed them that the alliance leader personally sent a handwritten letter of thanks. He expressed that he's proud of Soryong. Then he asked if they had caught the mysterious gecko. He uttered that he will pass by the toxic creature garden to see what it looks like. Soryong nervously replied that they only half caught it. Chae-Olsen was confused. Huayun volunteered to explain. After a while, Chae-Olsen is thinking about the ice jade. Huayun told him that they plan to go to Anhui province together to visit the Namgung clan. She sought his permission. Chae-Olsen told them to go ahead. There's also something that needs to be delivered along the way, so it was convenient. He said that the timing isn't great because of the blood cult, but he trusts Soryong so he can rest easy. Soryong took that as a stealthy way of assigning a chore. Then Chae-Olsen realized something. That there have been unsettling rumors around lately. Weiyun and Soryong glanced at each other in confusion. Near the Namgung clan, Yellow Mountain. Two men were walking in the forest in the middle of the night. They were gossiping about the lady of the Namgung clan. It was a scandalous, filthy rumor. Then they noticed something. They saw a man on the ground. The two men screamed that someone had collapsed. They checked if the man was dead. Then they heard the man start laughing. This guy was blushing. It had nosebleed and drooled, and it was like he's lost in Fantasyland. The two men glanced at each other. They thought the man was just drunk. They carried the man towards the village. Little did they know, a woman was hiding behind a tree. She was emitting an aura from her body. She laughed. Then, a mysterious spider appeared. Now that was kind of suspicious. Late at night in the forest, there was a warrior in white. She opened her eyes and slashed the falling leaves. She kept practicing her swordsmanship. Few minutes later, her hands trembled. She was out of breath. She didn't manage to cut all the leaves, so it made her think that she might still need more training. A girl called her. The girl told this woman that they have to go back since it's already late and there's a chance that they will get caught. She is Namgung Yun. She told her that their father will scold her too if they get caught. She understands that swordsmanship is great, and all but as the eldest of their family, her elder sister should take better care of herself. The woman removed her hat. She replied to Yoon that she understands. This is Namgung clan's eldest daughter, the Flame Queen peony named Namgung Seol. Suddenly Seol coughed. Her cheeks turned red. It is an overflowing qi deviation. At first, everyone in the family thought of it as a blessing. That's because the qi channels are wide open, making the building of internal energy much faster, and there are no blockages at all in the circulation of pure qi. The elders said that too many of Seol's blood points are open. The child's innate qi is being used up way too quickly. Seol's father asked if there's no solution. The elder advised him that Seol needs yin energy, plus strong yin energy that would be used before the innate qi, or else Seol's life will be cut short. Seol looked sick, and Yoon was worried. Seol told Yoon that she's fine and they would head back. Yoon asked her if she's sure. Seol noticed the lamp. She thought of how she's similar to the oil flame inside the lantern, like a being that will disappear once the oil burns out. She knew she needed to hurry up and master at least the Emperor's sword style as quickly as possible. She wanted that to happen before her body burns away and vanishes. The next day, at Yangtze River, Soryong and Hwayun with the rest of the crew are on the ship. Pei pointed at the river and called Soryong because there's a baiji dolphin. Soryong was surprised to hear that. They were really amazed that it's here. Soryong couldn't believe that he got to see a species that had gone extinct with his own eyes. Even though Soryong liked insects and reptiles, dolphins are still something else. Hwayun told him that if they follow the Yangtze River, they will reach Wuhan, where the Murin alliance is located. Soryong reminded her that the father-in-law's orders are to stop in Wuhan and deliver the red-necked keelback's poison. After that, they can get off the boat in Angyun. Hwayun told him that with the speed that they're going, they can arrive at a much earlier time. Soryong expressed that there's something that he's worried about. Hwayun asked what it is. Soryong told her that if Ice Jade is really that precious, he wondered if the Namgung clan would really hand it over easily. It kept bothering him no matter how much he thought about it. Hwayun asked him to trust her. She stated that the Ice Jade is of special use to young lady Seol. Apparently, Seol needs to eat it, but Ice Jade can't be eaten. Since they have something to trade, she is certain that they will give them the Ice Jade. After all, what they have can be eaten. Soryong replied that Hwayun isn't wrong. Soryong wondered if the Ice Jade that they have is even safe. Lizards are cold-blooded, so they usually hate anything cold. Soryong doesn't feel so good about feeding Seol something that he isn't sure about. Soryong asked about what Hwayun said that Ice Jade contains cold yin energy. Soryong had heard of yin and yang energy before, but it's still hard to understand. Since it is important for martial arts cultivation as well, Hwayun explained it to him. She told him to listen carefully and remember, yin ki is the key that creates yin fire. And among the keys of heaven and earth, it refers to the key that sinks and gathers. Normally, yin energy suppresses the activity of living things. Dark, cold, fearful things are all types of yin energies. So, the expression of cold yin energy is simply a type of yin energy. Soryong asked if it means that yin energy is bad. Hwayun told him that it's not exactly the case. Opposite to the yin energy, the yang energy creates the yang fire, but excess of that accelerates living activities, causing faster aging and energy to run out. The reason the lizards need cold energy is that their bodies are cold energy itself, and so they grow by absorbing that yin energy. Soryong thought of it as like recharging. He asked if yin and yang needed to be balanced, like male and female. Soryong inquired how they get that balance when they have pure yin energy. Hwayun's cheeks turned red. She got flustered and replied that she doesn't know. Then she told him that they will find out how to find that balance between yin and yang later. That landed on Soryong and made him blush. Soryong tried to explain that he didn't mean to ask that way. Pei interrupted them and informed them that they had arrived. He told them to get ready to disembark. At Wuhan. The boat arrived at the harbor. Hwayun politely introduced herself and informed them that she brought the items that they had requested. A man met them and informed them that the general had been waiting for them. Soryong was impressed with the surroundings. He finds the Murim alliance so grand. Someone was screaming in pain. He saw that a man's ear was being twisted by a short woman. The other man with them was just chilling. The man was agitated since he wanted to teach the guy a lesson. The woman got annoyed further and lectured him that he can't be dueling against his own allies. The guy told the agitated man named Seonghu that he acted too rashly without checking the facts first. Seonghu got offended and claimed that he was just defending the young lady's honor. Seonghu noticed something. He recognized the poisonous flower. Hwayun turned upon hearing that. Hwayun recognized the three. The chill man was Slaying Dragon, the woman was Sword Phoenix, and the agitated one was Spear Dragon. At the sight of Hwayun, the Spear Dragon blushed. Hwayun greeted them and said that it's the first time since they met at the Dragon Phoenix gathering. He asked how they had been. Spear Dragon replied that it was a great timing meeting with her. In Murim, only those with remarkable skills are given titles like Dragon or Phoenix. Soryong realized that those people are elite martial artists. Sword Phoenix told her that it's perfect since there's a strange rumor going around poisonous flower, and she wanted to ask her. Sword Phoenix uttered that it was a ridiculous rumor that poisonous flower has a lover. Soryong turned pale. Hwayun was confused. Spear Dragon shared that all the warriors were gossiping about it. Spear Dragon even wanted to challenge them to a duel in the name of Poisonous Flower's honor for spreading such nonsense. He didn't mean much to it, but since they're comrades, he wanted to protect her honor. Soryong realized that the Spear Dragon had a crush on Huiyun. Huiyun replied that the rumor is wrong. Spear Dragon was relieved. He was determined to fight the warrior that said that and teach him a lesson. Huiyun decided to correct the rumor. She pulled Soryong by the arm and announced that she doesn't have a lover. Instead, she has a fiancé. She introduced her fiancé, Soryong. Soryong's cheeks turned red, making it official to everyone, I guess. The three were shocked. Their jaws dropped. Sword Phoenix commented that Soryong looks young. Huiyun apologized for not introducing Soryong earlier. Soryong formally introduced himself. He was about to say that he's happy to be their acquaintance, but he saw Spear Dragon was raging. Spear Dragon uttered, "Young warrior Wei, you said?" Soryong replied, "Yes." At this point, Soryong turned pale. Out of the blue, Spear Dragon knelt in front of him. Soryong was flustered. Spear Dragon introduced himself as Seonghu, the Spear Dragon of the Yang family of Xinjiang. Seonghu was fired up since he wanted to challenge Soryong to a duel.
Thank you all for watching. Please watch this next Giga Chad video, and I'll see you guys next time. Also, support the channel by joining the Summon Club membership. You can also support by just liking the video and being awesome.